All right, thanks for everyone for coming in. Just so you know, you didn't miss anything. We were just in executive session, so we're going to start on our normal agenda shortly. Just going to give a couple minutes for everyone to get in the hearing room. While we're waiting for Ben to come back, make sure everyone just looked at the minutes so we can approve those quickly.
Can I get started, Melissa? Or not yet?
Yeah.
Okay, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order superseding certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 18 of the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Southborough Conservation Commission will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and/or parties with a right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough website at https://www.southboroughtown.com. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen to the meeting may do so in the following manner: https://www.southboroughtown.com, all one word again, /remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, first thing up is the approval of the November 12th, 2020 meeting minutes. Anybody have any corrections, comments?
I had one. I'm just.
You muted yourself when you're pulling it up.
Sorry, I've just got to pull the file up here.
Did it again. Mr. Smith is looking. Anybody else have any comments? Modifications, amendments?
Sorry, I'm using my space bar to unmute, but then I do that and it tabs the page way down. I lost my spot. Here we go. Line 21 on page 3 of 9. Mr. Smith asked if the removal of the driveway area was to be reached to the proposed. So the wording, I think there might be some extra words there. The removal of the driveway area reached to the proposed fence.
Yeah, I'll fix that.
Okay.
Wording.
That's all I saw.
That's it? All right, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes of November 12th, 2020 as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor by roll call vote?
Watson? You're on mute.
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Pete?
Yes.
Guyer?
Yes.
Gregory?
Yes.
Wittes?
Yes.
Passamato?
Yes. Okay, first public hearing, request for determination of applicability. This is 7 Mount Vickery Road, map 29, lot 15A, replacement of a septic system. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a request for determination for a project at 7 Mount Vickery Road, map 29, lot 15A, for the applicant James and Kathleen Lane. The project description is replacement of a failed septic system.
Dan McIntyre is here representing the homeowners.
Aye.
Want me to go right into it?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. So the Lanes are in the process of selling their home and their septic didn't pass a Title V inspection, so we were retained to design a new one. Their existing system is in the front yard. We had a wetlands delineated in the backyard as shown on the plan. The only practical place to put the system is back right where it is, so that's what we've designed. We put a new system right back in the front yard. It's currently lawn now, and when we're done, it'll be lawn. There'll be no tree removal. Everything is previously disturbed. As I said, we're just putting the system back where it is now.
Okay. Are you looking for a confirmation of the wetland line?
Not particularly. I think we just like approval to construct a septic system.
And how far away from the wetland is it at its closest point?
Oh, about 95 feet.
Physical line.
You can see the 100-foot buffer line.
Okay, I see it now.
Has this been approved by the Board of Health?
I believe they're waiting for conservation approval, but they do have it.
Ooh, usually it's the other way around.
Well, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. This one has been approved by the Board of Health. That's right. The approval went to the homeowner, not to the engineer. I'm the engineer on it, so.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. Anybody else have any questions? No? No other questions from the commission? So this is determination of applicability. And we did not engage Lucas Environmental on this, did we?
We did. Matt did do a review.
I'm sorry?
Matt did do a review,
Okay.
yes.
I don't see him here. Is he here?
Here.
Yep.
Oh, there you are. Do you have any comments on this, Matt?
No, not really. I walked the site, the wetland boundary looked fine, but as you had asked, they're not really asking for approval of that. Really no other comments. It looked fine to me.
All right, and where the erosion controls are, everybody's happy with that? Which is basically the end of the driveway? Looks pretty flat.
Site's pretty flat. It starts to slope down in the back, but I thought the erosion controls looked fine from my perspective.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for,
Do you want to do the public real quick?
oh, I'm sorry, yes.
If anyone has a question, please use the raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. And I am not seeing any hands.
Okay. No
Yes.
commentary from the public. So this looks like it's a negative determination. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor by roll call vote?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes,
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes,
Yes,
Passamano.
Yes.
Okay. All right, Dan, I'll touch base tomorrow with the determination and where to send it.
That'd be great. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
All right, have a good night. Okay, next up is 61 Breakneck Hill Road, map 29 lot 1, a new SMP, stormwater management permit. In accordance with the provision of the South Road Stormwater Erosion Control Bylaw, South Road Zoning Code, Chapter 174, Section 13.5. The South Road Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7:10 p.m. by a virtual Zoom meeting on the petition of Quality Framing Contractor, Inc. for approval of a stormwater management permit for the construction of a single-family house at 61 Breakneck Hill Road, map 29, parcel 1.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'll be recusing myself. This is my next door neighbor.
Okay. So noted.
Good evening, Peter Bemis here.
Good evening, Peter.
61 Breakneck Hill Road is a 68,000 square foot lot. We're on the northwest side of Breakneck Hill Road, and this is pretty much opposite the Harding Botanical Facility. And there was an existing residence on this lot. It was Ray Davis's home. This is over by the conservation land as well. And the home was raised. The driveway is going through pretty much the center of that old structure, and the new structure is being constructed behind that. We've been limiting our footprint until we obtain this permit. There is a fairly large lot area here. But with the permit from the board, we would be able to then develop the entire site as shown in the plan. The total impervious area existing is just under 10,000 square feet. And so with the reduction of existing impervious areas and the construction of new, we actually net out about 2,000 square feet of less impervious area post-construction. There's an existing old barn, garage, if you will, in the back. It's kind of where the cows used to stay in the winter. And the driveway went out to the back of that. So that's pretty much where most of the reduction in impervious area occurs. The 100% of the roof area will be infiltrated. There's infiltration chambers that are shown on the plan. And then there's a perimeter gravel stone, if you will, driveway apron. There's also a construction entrance apron shown, although the site already has a paved driveway, so they've been able to maintain the site access as being fairly clean through this process. Stormwater management guidelines were submitted as part of the application, and a complete SWEP was provided with a checklist and a form to complete during construction. And I did provide Melissa on a separate cover the notification to abutters by certified mail. And I know there was a report back from Commission Member Smith. I do appreciate Ben having the ability to do this review. And I'm in full concurrence with his assessment. I believe he found everything to be in proper order here. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Why don't we start with Mr. Smith and his review and comments?
Yes, let me pull them up here. So just really quickly, I was asked to take a look through the plan, and let's see, just reading through very quickly. So the driveway is, I understand there is a paved driveway currently to access the site, but there will be some earthwork done on site. And in the interest of not tracking dirt out, I would recommend that the southernmost entrance of the horseshoe be for ingress only, and that all egress just takes place over the crushed stone pad until the site's stabilized. Being both a redevelopment project and a single-family home, the standard is to meet the stormwater standards to the maximum extent practicable. That being said, both stormwater rate and volume are fully mitigated. The infiltration systems that Peter mentioned, I guess I would request that you can see the southernmost of the three systems is actually quite close to an area of ledge. Prior to the excavation of those, I would recommend that the commission ask the developer of the property just to contact Melissa maybe 72 hours in advance, so that if somebody's available to go out and take a look, just to confirm that subsurface conditions are amenable to the infiltration, just with the adjacency of the ledge, just to make sure. The site lies with, most, the northern 2/3 of Southborough is within an outstanding resource water area. This site is included with that. It drains ultimately across the street into the pond, which drains through a combination of streams and culverts up into the reservoir. That puts this site under the so-called 1-inch rule for stormwater infiltration. That rule would require 599 cubic feet of infiltration. They provided 582 cubic feet, being required to meet the standards to the maximum extent practicable. I think they've done that. And that's all that I saw. The site's generally fine. I think only some minor conditions may be needed for an approval.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on the commission have any questions, comments?
Yeah, I have a question. This site hasn't been already started yet, right? There's no work been done yet, right?
No, I'll correct that, Mr. Gar. They have started, as I stated in the beginning of the presentation. The site is afforded a very large lot area, so we've been maintaining a smaller footprint than what would be allowed to complete the full site plan. So our intent was to file with you, comply with the requirements, but maintain a smaller footprint until we receive the permit from you. So that's been our approach.
Any other questions?
Peter, I just have one note, and I don't know if it matters at this point because there's no wetlands in the area, but the illic discharge compliancy statement wasn't signed in the stormwater packet.
I will ensure that is provided. Thank you. And I submitted another one recently, and I will make sure that one's done before the next meeting, so you don't have to tell me that. Thank you.
Oh, great catch.
It is a good catch.
All right, any comments from the public?
If anyone does, please use the little raise hand feature at the bottom of your screen. I do not see any raised hands at this time.
Okay, seeing no public comment on this lot, I think we can close the hearing. And when would you have the, do you already have it prepared?
Yeah, so we can come
Cool.
back at the end of the meeting, or you can just approve it now with the 2 conditions that Ben stated about the egress only being on the construction apron, the second being contacting the agent 72 hours in advance to ensure the appropriate conditions for the infiltration units, and then just a finding of fact would be that they did get to the extent practicable by doing the 582 cubic feet. So that
Okay.
would be added.
So why don't we vote on closing the hearing, and then we can vote on issuing the permit so that we don't forget all those details that Melissa just provided to us. Do I hear a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor by roll call vote?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat.
Yep.
Guyer,
Yes,
Gregory. Oh, you're recused.
Oh, he's
I'm
recused.
sorry. Wittes,
Yes.
Passamano.
Yes.
Thank you
All
very
right, do I hear a
much.
motion to issue the stormwater permit under the provisos that Melissa outlined previously? Those 3 conditions?
so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor by roll call vote?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes,
Wittes,
Yes.
Passamano.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is let's see, abbreviated notice of resource area delineation and ANRAD for 0 Southville Road, map 5 lot 8, in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw. The Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7:20 p.m. via the virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for a project located at 0 Southville Road, map 5 lot 8 for the applicant JAH Properties. The project description is confirmation of resource area boundaries.
it's upside down.
They were in the public, but now I can't see them. I will send them a message unless they're under another name. How about we go to Stowe in the meantime, and I.
Okay. So we'll leave that open for the time being and come back to it. So 21 Stowe Road, it's a request for determination of applicability. Map 991 Lot 1, replacement of septic in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, in the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw. The Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. via virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a request for determination for a project at 21 Stowe Road, map 91 lot 1, the applicant Tom Truong. The project description is replacement of failed septic after emergency certification.
So I didn't have Vito from Cornerstone attend the meeting tonight because he had another time commitment. And this was the septic that was done for the emergency certification earlier in the summer. They're just getting to the RDA now. So they did submit the as-built, and I can bring that up on the screen if you would like. It's totally up to you.
In the as-built, it doesn't look like the septic is in the buffer zone. What was the work that was done in the actual buffer zone?
So it's on the very, very edge. So some probably grading and landscaping was done, but it is, stabilized, and it does look as it should. So they did a good job. It was a quick job.
Okay. So this is really a technicality.
Yes, yeah, because the emergency, this is the one where the sewage was flowing over the property. So this was an emergency, but it just requires an application after the fact.
Yep. Okay, any other questions from commission members? Nope. Okay, so I think we have a negative determination here. So do I hear a motion to issue a negative determination?
So moved.
Hear a second?
Second.
All in favor by roll call vote?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes,
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes,
Yes.
Pasamato.
Yes.
Okay, and I do see Wayne Bellick for 0 Southville. So we can go back to that.
Okay.
Wayne, I don't see Scott yet.
Hi, folks. So we're trying to get Scott on. I have him on my phone right here. And he's going to be doing the majority of the presentation tonight. I was just going to quickly touch base with the commission, introduce Scott. So tonight was going to be a night for me with popcorn and soda and watch the show. So let me put him quickly on speaker, see where's Scott.
Yeah, I'm still trying here.
So,
Does Melissa need to give me permission or something?
Melissa, he wants to know if you need to give him, feels like I'm in the movie Ghost here. He wants to know if you can give him permission. He's not being allowed access.
Is he actually in the webinar? I don't see his name listed.
I think he's trying to get in. Try to get back in the webinar. Are you using the password? Are you trying to get into the password link here? Or
Yeah, I'm clicking on the link.
Okay.
Just clicking the link with the embedded password should work just fine.
He hasn't refreshed his page since the meeting was locked. That might help.
Refresh your page, Scott.
Yeah, I'm opening new web browsers here. Let me try something else.
Okay. Oh, yeah, this looks familiar.
It looks upside down.
Oh, it does.
Depends which way you want to look at it.
How's that wine, Melissa?
Wait, oh, that's the way it came up on my screen too, upside down.
Yeah.
So first of all, I want to, so have you opened the public hearing, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay. So Wayne Bellick, again, for the record, Land Design Collaborative. And again, this is, the plan has been prepared in the filing at the request of the commission. We understand from Melissa to look and get this behind us so that we can move on to the next step and close out the violation. So in speaking with the client, the options were the filing the notice of intent or going with the NRAD. We haven't really gotten into the design yet. His finance source is a little freaked out with COVID right now. So they're probably looking to table this, see what happens with COVID through the winter, and look to resume in the spring. I did get him a proposal. He hasn't signed it because he just wants to see what's going on. So we did go with the NRAD route. We want to thank you folks. You've been incredibly patient, as I said to Melissa earlier today. It's been a long time, and I can appreciate where you guys are coming from and looking to get this behind you. So, Scott, how are we looking?
Yeah, I'm trying all different ways here. It says the host has declined my webinar access.
Did you hear that, Melissa?
The webinar is completely unlocked. We've got 20 other people in the waiting room, so.
Okay. How do you want to do this then, Mr. Chairman? I don't want to keep you guys waiting.
So your presentation is reliant on Goddard Consulting,
It's-
presenting the details and the
Yeah,
cetera?
it's reliant on Ecotech, Scott Jordan.
Okay.
Scott had done the delineation out there. And your consultant, Lucas Environmental, Matt
Okay.
Farrell, prepared a letter to which Scott had responded.
Through the chair, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm happy to jump in. I'm probably, I would guess, second most familiar with the site.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
As
the only
far
issue,
as-
Matt, I have is the Ecotech isn't going to be able to hear you.
Well, I spoke to Scott today directly, so I think we're pretty much on the same page with both things. I don't think
Okay.
I'm gonna say anything that's gonna be of news to him, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman and Matt, he can hear you. I have him on speaker. So he can hear.
He can hear.
So
Okay.
He's just somewhat in Helen Keller mode right now.
All right. Before he jumps in, I have a conflict that starts at 8 East time. So I'm going to jump off now and turn the chair reins over to Mr. Smith, if he's available and ready to do that.
Certainly.
You okay there?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thanks. I'll be back when my other meeting conflict is over.
Okay. See you shortly.
Okay.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, so Ben, if you're gonna just kind of go through my comments and we'll see where it goes.
Great. And then Wayne, perhaps you can act as a relay if we need some information from Scott.
I think it's a great idea. However, I think you might be able to hear
Sure.
Scott. Scott, you can hear them, right?
Yeah, I can hear.
Can you folks hear Scott?
Yes.
Yeah,
We can now. Yep. Great.
perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, so as was stated, this is an ANRAD. I went out to the site yesterday and inspected the flags that are out there. The property is to the, is this, this is north facing, no, this is north facing down, right?
Is it easier if I flip it?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
My neck has a kink in it now, Melissa.
Okay.
So,
Getting lightheaded.
so north is up here, and the property is to the north of to the railroad right away, and all of the resources that were flagged are actually to the south of the railroad right away on Department of Conservation and Recreation land. So just one thing I'll just go through my comments here. One thing of note, as you know, that this whole kind of discussion came from a potential violation issue that resulted in the delineation. And previously, I believe Melissa had directed the owner to put up some construction fencing at the limit of the presumed riverfront area to prevent any further disturbance in those areas. And just when I was out there, I observed that fencing was in fairly poor repair and recommended that be reestablished at whatever ends up being the final limit of riverfront area through this process. So it was kind of a easy one, I think. So the second one was, as the delineation is actually off property, technically the application should have been signed by the owner, which would be Commonwealth of Massachusetts through DCR. Not sure if that's a major concern or not. I don't know that it's terribly relevant. For the ANRAD, there's obviously no work proposed at all, and certainly no work would be proposed on DCR land. It's separated with the railroad right away, but again, just for purposes of completeness of the application, there is not an owner by the signature from the owner. As far as the wetland boundary review, I found a minor typo in the DEP data forms, which Scott fixed and sent back. So that was really a really minor thing. It's not an issue. I walked the BVW boundary is shown here on the plan in green, and the blue line is the flaggings for the limits of mean annual high water. And then the yellow dash line would be the limits of the 200-foot riverfront area based on the mean annual high water flags. The BVW flags, I walked their entirety. I had no issue with those at all. Looked fine. I think that can be put to bed. The mean annual high water line, the flags that were established and shown on this plan, again, really have no argument with. Those looked fine. My really only concern with the plan here is that there are no mean annual high water flags shown to the west of where the blue line stops, which obviously has an impact on the site. And I believe in the report, Mr. Jordan felt that the mean annual high water line basically reverted back to where the river is, the Sudbury River, which is quite a bit further in from the railroad tracks, south of the railroad tracks. Based on my inspection and the type of river and the way the riverfront area regs are written, I believe the mean annual high water actually may come up fairly close to the BVW flags, especially in the area of flags A33 through A39, which is sort of the western end of things here on the left side of the paper, yeah, where Melissa's got the little hand pointed in that area. And from talking to Scott on the phone, I think that's something that we probably need to discuss in the field to really come to resolution on. As you know, mean annual high water can be somewhat subjective, but there are certainly bankful indicators that we can use. And it's just a matter, I think, getting on the same page with that. So my recommendation would be that Scott and I meet out there and hash it out in the field rather than just kind of going back and forth with photographs and other discussions, I think would be more productive just to meet out there. The only other thing that's not shown on the plan was there was a question of bordering land subject to flooding. There obviously is a 100-year floodplain associated with the Sudbury River, and there's no representation of BLSF on the plan. And again, from talking to Scott, my understanding is that they're just not requesting approval of a BLSF line as part of the ANRAD, which is fine. Again, it's probably not terribly relevant to any future development of the site, just based on the way things are laid out. But again, just pointed that out as there was some discussion in the application. So that's pretty much it. So I think the bottom line is my recommendation would be for Scott and I to meet on the site and figure out the mean annual high water line before the snow flies, and then report back to you folks.
Thank you very much, Matt. Just a couple of quick questions. First, that sounds like a fantastic idea with the bank determination. The riverfront area is, carries with it some pretty restrictive regulations. We've got to nail down exactly where that is. The BLSF, is that does that exist solely to the south of the railway tracks, or does it extend northwards onto the site at all?
So
I think it'll be just limited to the DCR land. So it does the railroad tracks. I think probably the elevation of that's going to create any kind of a barrier to the floodplain reaching onto the site, I would imagine.
There are no culverts or anything that are going to extend that?
that's
Okay.
I don't
correct.
believe so.
That's correct. So thank you, Matt, for bringing that up. I did take the liberty, Mr. Chairman, of going out to the FEMA flood site, to the website, and downloaded a map that I do have here, and I can get to, I tried to email it to Melissa earlier, but I had an issue, but I could easily email that as soon as we're done tonight.
Okay, yeah, it sounds like you'll be coming back anyhow, so that would be
Yep.
great to have on hand. Is it a zone A or a zone AE? Has it been
AE.
evaluated? It is,
Zone
okay,
AE. Yep.
okay.
And it
great.
shows it shows everything to the south of the tracks, as
Fantastic.
Matt indicated he felt was the case.
Okay, any questions from other commissioners? Okay, and do we have any questions from members of the public?
If you do, please use the raise hand feature, lower portion of your screen. I'm not seeing any at this time.
Okay, so it looks like we're looking for a motion to continue to our January, is it January 2nd?
7th.
7th, thank you. January 7th hearing.
So moved.
Okay, is there a second? All those in favor by roll call?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes,
Yes.
Osamato. He's gone. Never mind. Sorry.
Wayne,
Yes,
Wayne,
yes,
can everyone hear me or just Wayne? This is Scott.
Scott, everybody can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much for the summary, Matt. I thought that was absolutely spot on. That's what I would have said also. Yes, I think it's a great idea for us to meet out there, and I just wanted Matt to know, feel free to email me when you get a second and give me some open dates in the next week or so, and we'll meet out there.
Okay.
Good.
So, sounds great, folks. It sounds like we're continued to the 7th of January. Everybody have a safe holiday season, have a happy one, and stay very healthy. Much appreciated, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay, next we have 96 Mount Vickery, lots 1 through 5. Where are we here? Okay. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40 in the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, The Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct 5 public hearings on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7:40 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider 5 notices of intent for projects located at 96 Mount Vickery Road, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, be known as Ruby Estates, map 28, lot 18, for the applicant Bartolini Properties. The project descriptions are construction of single-family homes, septic, and associated infrastructure, including stormwater features. These hearings will be held concurrently. Okay, who do we have here this evening presenting the plan?
Good evening, Jim Bernardino with Bowler Engineering, representing Bartolini Properties for the applications that are in front of you this evening. We do have Michael, Tony, and Greg from Bartolini Properties also should be online or at least in the waiting room. They may chime in time to time as I go through my presentation, or they are available for questions and answers as well. Melissa, maybe would it be worthwhile for me to share my screen? I'll run through the plans. I could pan and point and highlight in particular areas, if that is an option.
All right, just give me 1 second.
No problem. I think it'll go a little smoother that way.
All right, you should be all set to share.
Let me just maximize that one more time. Share. Here we go. Okay, here we go. Everybody should have a PDF of the overall site area map. For those that are not familiar with where the site is located, it is 96 Mount Vickery Road, south of Route 9, off of Middle Road, south of Vickery, bounded to the south, well, not by Hidden Meadow Lane, but by a residence along Hidden Meadow Lane. Same thing with residents along Boswell. Highlighted area is the subject site. You may recall last month we were in front of the commission to discuss the ANRAD for the resource area for the subject property. This was just the ANRAD plan that was approved last month, showing in green here the limits of the approved bordering vegetated wetlands, as well as the orange area, which was the edge of bank. Both of those resource areas were discussed with the commission, reviewed by your consultant, Lucas Environmental, and ultimately approved last month at your hearing. These wetland lines were the basis and limits of consideration for the development of the proposed residential subdivision, which is being called Ruby Estates. Now, Ruby Estates, Ruby Estates is going to be a proposed subdivision consisting of a proposed roadway of approximately 570 feet long. That roadway will allow for the creation of 7 residential lots, 6 residential lots, all having a minimum lot area of 1 acre or greater. Before I dive into the specifics of the site, I like to just give the commission a little bit of a background as to how the applicant came to this plan as a final proposal to the town. Over a year ago, the applicant gained development control over the property. Things were a little slow at the beginning because of the COVID. However, over that time, over the last year, they've considered multiple layouts for the proposed development in consideration of minimizing the overall footprint and impact of the proposal. They initially prepared several alternatives that had a smaller footprint that would fall under the town's regulations under a flexible development, which would allow for a shorter roadway, potentially smaller lots, and an overall development footprint a little bit smaller. the applicant took these applications, or I mean, took those alternatives and discussed that with the planning board on multiple occasions. And after several meetings with the planning board, the ultimate resolution and directive was that a conventional subdivision was the alternative proposal for this site. As such, the applicant took that directive, moved forward with a conventional layout subdivision, which obviously is before you this evening. As you see, we have before you 5 notice of intents for lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 along the back of the area. We will be coming to the commission within the days to come with a supplemental application that would be for the roadway only and its drainage infrastructure to keep that separate from the house lots. So that will be forthcoming to the commission, and we could discuss that as well at a further time during the next hearing when that is anticipated to be heard. However, the overall development project and narratives that I'll be giving this evening will not change because of that alternate notice of intent that will be filed. As you see, I'll zoom in. Oh, I apologize, a little bouncy. So we have our proposed roadway. There's an existing house located in this area here. That house will be demolished. It will be raised completely as part of this overall development. That being said, it does have an existing water, which the entire subdivision will be also serviced by public water. However, we have been doing soil testings on the site to allow for a proposed septic. So each house will have its own individual septic system, and the layouts that have been provided to the commission show proposed locations that we are currently working on and seeking approval from the Board of Health. Looking at lot number 1, as you can see, the edge of wetland is located in green. The local regulated 20-foot no disturb buffer is also shown as part of an offset. All work is located outside of that 20-foot area. So on lot 1, as you can see, the house is located primarily entirely within the 100-foot buffer zone. The limit of the house is approximately 47 feet off of the closest point of the bordering vegetated wetland. Also, you can see that approximately 70 to 71 feet is going to be the edge of the reserve septic system. So that's not intended to be built initially. However, the primary field, once final designs are done and reviewed by the Board of Health, is anticipated to be in this location, with the majority of the septic field being outside of the buffer zone. Lot 1 will result in approximately 15,600 square feet of border of 100-foot buffer zone. No alterations to any BVW or the 20-foot offset to the wetland area as well. Lot number 2, as you can see, again, the building is located within the 100-foot buffer zone, approximately 45 feet off of the edge of the BVW. Again, no alterations are proposed within the 0 to 20-foot setback to the edge of the wetland. Primary and reserve septic systems are shown on this layout as well, with the primary septic field that would be built initially, with the majority of that being located outside of the 100-foot buffer, and the reserve area being located approximately 76 feet off of the bordering vegetated wetland. Lot 2 would be result in approximately 15,200 square feet of buffer zone alteration. Going around to lot 3. Again, the house is situated at the front yard setback, which runs almost concurrently with the 100-foot buffer zone. Again, the building located within the buffer zone, approximately 63 feet off of the bordering vegetated wetland. No alteration again in the 0 to 20 foot zone, and approximately 13,800 square feet of wetland buffer zone to be altered in this area. Primary field for the septic is expected to be completely outside of the 100-foot buffer, and with the reserve area potentially having just a small area located within the regulated 100-foot buffer zone. Moving back around, let me just maybe go to the next slide. What are we doing here? So this is lot 4, even though it says number 7, that's just going to be the future street address. Lot number 4, again, just over 1 acre, as is the majority of the lots. Again, the house is going to be situated approximately 85 feet off the nearest regulated resource area, which is where it turns into the bank for the intermittent stream along the southwestern property line. Lot number 4 is going to result in approximately 16,000 square feet of the buffer zone alteration. Primary septic fields is anticipated to be located outside of the 100-foot buffer, with the reserve area split between the 100-foot buffer zone and being out of that regulated area. Lot number 5, the house is completely located outside of the buffer zone on number 5. However, there will be some minor alterations along the edge for the construction of lot grading. As we mentioned before, we will be doing a separate notice of intent coming up in a couple of days. Hopefully we'll be able to hear this concurrently the next time we discuss the project with the commission. But that forthcoming notice of intent will cover the impacts associated with the drainage infrastructure for the overall subdivision and roadway. That subdivision and roadway within lot number 5 would result in approximately 18,100 square feet of buffer zone alteration. Again, that detention basin will be designed such that no alteration to that 0 to 20 foot regulated area would happen. So no alterations 0 to 20 feet. And septic systems associated with lot number 5 will be located outside, are anticipated to be located outside of the 100-foot buffer area. Lot 6, there's no notice of intent for that, but as you can see, that's on the other side of the roadway, which is outside of the regulated areas of the bordering vegetated wetland or the bank resource area that's on site. Likewise, the entire roadway is located out of that 100-foot buffer zone. As part of the overall subdivision, we did take a look at impacts cumulatively of the overall development. The impacts were analyzed for various different aspects. One, erosion control. We have developed a comprehensive erosion sediment control plan as part of the development package and the subdivision plans that were in front of the commission. We've also developed a comprehensive stormwater collection, conveyance, and treatment and infiltration practices, which are inclusive of deep sump catch basins, a sediment forebay, and a BMP water quality practice infiltration on lot 5 itself. The proposed design does meet the stormwater standards for water quality, treatment, infiltration practices, and the like. A stormwater application has been submitted to the commission. We expect that to be forthcoming as a supplemental public hearing as well, probably within the month of January. With that, we have received a copy of Lucas Environmental's initial review of our plan set. And I'll just kind of summarize and run through very quickly. I won't go point by point. But I don't think there's anything of substance that the applicant won't be able to address, in due course of time, working with the commission. Point one was calling out the appropriate demolition criteria for the existing residential house located in the front. We'll make sure that our plans are updated to reflect all the necessary call outs and specifications for the demolition of the house, as well as decommissioning of any wells or septic systems that are existing on that site. One of the other comments all these comments are consistent across all 5 applications. The next comment was to provide a more detailed narrative of how the plan arrived to what is currently proposed, and the impacts associated with that and how they are addressed. We will provide narratives to that effect, and basically what we've done is we went through an iterative process looking at alternatives that have a lesser impacted footprint on the overall site. Back and forth with the planning department ultimately resulted in this layout, but we've also taken additional measures to mitigate these impacts associated with the development by utilizing minimum road widths for the subdivision. We went down to 20-foot wide pavement, and we've also eliminated any proposed sidewalks on the site to reduce impervious areas, which obviously will promote additional infiltration in green space on the overall development. Another comment that was brought up was a consideration that we look at seed mixes along the edge. Let's go one more. Along the edge of our development. This is a grading plan. And we do have some 3-to-1 slopes along the perimeter of the site. It recommended that we take a look at potentially utilizing a different seed mix than normal that would be more indicative of wood wildlife or woody value type of seed mix. I do have a landscape architect on staff. We'll consult with him and the applicant to find out what best practices can be implemented on that to enhance the value of that area as it is in proximity to the resource area. So we will take a look at that, consult with our landscape architect, and develop a plan to see what can happen for enhancements in those areas. Number 4 would be to adjust the erosion controls along the limits of work. Basically, the majority of the erosion controls at this point run along the barrier or the perimeter of that 20-foot offset. There are locations on the site where edge of grading and limit of work are a little further away from that 20-foot buffer. We can make those adjustments to minimize the extent of the limit of work and bring it closer to some of those limits of the proposed development and grading. Another comment that was there was considerations of some rooftop infiltration. We can respond to this in writing as well with the other comments, but that was considered as part of the overall development, and we found that our designs associated with the roadway design, the treatment facility, and our infiltration basin do exceed the necessary requirements to meet the stormwater guidelines. So there's no additional exfiltration that would be necessary for each individual rooftop. And the remaining 2 comments that he had were, I believe Lucas Environmental was in agreement with our erosion control plan and our construction exit details. And just to note that no DEP file has been established yet for the site. Lastly, we did receive, and I'm sure the commission has copies of them as well, numerous letters from the neighbors in the surrounding neighborhood voicing their concerns of the proposed development. Obviously, the development as proposed does have impacts in the concerns voiced by the neighbors. Are impacts that resulted directly from the construction of what the subdivision would be. Some of the comments were of the value of the upland areas, some drainage concerns, groundwater concerns as well. Our plans and our comprehensive stormwater evaluation has, considered those potential impacts with our designs that have been implemented from a stormwater perspective, erosion sediment control, BMPs that have been implemented for construction activities. We believe that those types of impacts that the neighbors have voiced, are addressed with our design plans and our computations that have been provided to the commission. And lastly, many of the neighbors have spoken out regarding the developer's past project and how he's currently altering land at this point, with clear cutting. Obviously, that's not the developer's motives, is to clear cut the property that's mentioned by several of the butters is actually not the developer's project. They're talking about a development down the street that's currently been clear cut, which is directly adjacent to a development that the applicant has constructed. However, that the applicant has no, or Bartolini Properties has no association with that current operation for that clear cutting activity. Bartolini Properties is actually disappointed that that's happening directly adjacent to their property, because obviously that is affecting their past customers and just the overall presence of their development. So with that, that's a general overview of where we started and how we got here. I would just put it or back to the commission for any comments that you may have or questions. If anybody from Bartolini's Properties wants to add anything to it, you feel free to jump in as well. But at this point, I would turn it over to the commission for feedback and any comments that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Bernardino. So we are still waiting, of course, on the notice of intent for the overall notice of intent covering the roadway and detention pond and all the drainage work associated with that, as well as the stormwater management permit, which I understand is going to cover the entirety of the project in a single application. Melissa, we are waiting to submit this to Fuss and O'Neill for review until we receive those materials. Is that correct?
We received the materials. I got the task authorization from Amy from Fuss and O'Neill, so I sent the amount off to the Bartolini. So I'm just waiting on that check, and that review will start, and it will be on the agenda for the 1/7 meeting.
Okay. And for those in the audience, Fuss and O'Neill are consulting civil engineers who are going to be doing an engineering review of the project on the commission's behalf. Our environmental consultant, Lucas Engineering, was referred to by Mr. Bernardino. Matt, do you want to go through your comments?
I think Mr. Bernardino hit him pretty well, to be honest with you. I think the only one that maybe I would focus in on a little bit more is, again, a lot of the comments are common across all 5 applications, with the difference being on lot 1, the question of the demolition work, and then on lot 5, the question of a separate notice of intent for the infrastructure. And I think it sounds like both of those have been addressed. But I'd probably focus in on the comment with regard to the amount of proposed clearing on the site. And I know Mr. Bernardino, sorry, stated that they'd be responding in writing. But I guess I would just emphasize the question of, it appears based on the plan that the project just clears to the 20-foot no disturb zone and doesn't really leave anything else intact throughout the buffer zone, without a lot of, as far as I can tell, thought about, are there any particular larger tree specimens or anything of greater value that where the grading might be able to be adjusted to preserve higher value areas out there certainly from a wildlife perspective, if nothing else. So, I just included some language from the bylaw in the memo about, the application for a permit shall contain a written narrative and shall include plans that fully describe the proposed activity and its effect on the environment. And I think it's the and its effect on the environment piece that really hasn't been included in the application. And I think will be critical for the commission to evaluate this properly. And we look forward to seeing that information. But other than that, I think most of my comments were pretty well covered.
Thank you, Matt. For my part, I find it difficult to review only the individual notices of intent in the absence of the overall package containing, the drainage calculations for the site as a whole. So I'm waiting on those to do sort of a deep dive into the project. This is a sort of a general comment. I would like to. I saw that you put in a screened out gray line the proposed limit of work. I think it would be helpful if we could see the proposed. There's an existing edge of woods shown on your existing conditions plan. I think it would be helpful to have a proposed edge of woods on your proposed conditions plans, so it's a little more clear where where yards are going to be extended to, where lawns are going to extend to. That being said, I look forward to receiving the overall NOI and SMP to do a more in-depth review. Are there any commissioners who have questions, comments, or concerns? Carl.
Yeah, I have a question. When I looked at this plan, I see the 20-foot no touch area is well preserved, right? And then there's the you go from 20 to 100 feet. There's a thing that's called the buffer area, and from what I can see on the plan, after this is done, all that area will be gone. It'll all be filled in, right? There'll be no buffer area at all. I mean, the intent of the bylaw is to have some change, what percentage, this is a good question for the commission, is what percentage of the buffer area can we lose and figure that it's still acceptable? I don't know if it's 100%, but it's pretty close to 100% of it. It's going to be filled in, right? Should 20% of it remain, or should 50% of it remain? At 50%, this project would be in real trouble. So I'd like to know from either the applicant or the engineer how they treated the area in the buffer, that 100-foot buffer area, different from the area outside of it, in order to make a difference and provide some buffering to the wetlands.
If I may, through the chair, with that, obviously, 20% is being maintained from that no disturb zone, from the 0 to 20. And Lucas Environmental did outline I think a good technique that we're going to be exploring, which would take that next 0 to 20, take that 20 to 40 or 20 to 50 foot buffer zone, and taking a look at enhancing those slopes with seed mix that would be woody in nature, or high value for wildlife, so that over time those areas would become established and basically enhance that buffer zone within those areas even more. So we could, as we look at these options, we can go through the narratives to outline that technique, as well as others that we're going to look at to try to enhance enhance the buffer zones that are impacted and see what can be done to minimize those impacts within the 0 to 100-foot buffer zone. In speaking with the developer, the applicant, their practice is not to come in and clear cut the site. They come in and they will clear for the roadway and the drainage systems, and they would treat each lot separately on a case-by-case basis going through. And obviously, it really behooves them to minimize impact, save trees to the greatest extent practical, based upon their building footprint and the like. So to get the biggest bang for the buck from them, they want to try to establish a development that looks established from a vegetated and natural state point of view. So we'll take a look and do the best we can to address these comments and concerns.
Yeah, because it looks like you're creating an upslope right at the 20 foot, right, which is going to inhibit any wildlife probably from crawling up or whatever. I know there's wood frogs in there because I've seen them. I live near this, right? I've actually seen them and heard them, right? So and they probably inhabit this area, right? So there should be some consideration. So at least some pockets anywhere in there that would allow that the inhabitants of this wetland, right, can have access beyond in the buffer zone, because it's called the buffer zone for a reason. It's not the 20 foot and then you can do whatever you want, right? You can do whatever you want outside the 100 foot, right? But there should be some real effort to and that so that the people when they move in here, they don't just think it's all lawn, right? Because I look at this and I see that they're going to have a nice lawn, right? But the lawn's not going to be a good habitat, right? So
can I just address that? I know Jim already hit on this, but Carl, just so you're aware, we did go to the planning board for a less impactful development. We went for a flex development. We actually did meet all the criteria. They chose this project over the flex development. So the flex development would have resulted in about, Jim can correct me, but probably like 200 feet less road. The setbacks would have been pulled in, but they felt with their board that this conventional project would be better. So we did attempt over several meetings to implement a flex development.
Yeah, maybe we can send a communication to the planning board. I mean, it's, this is classic, environmental versus development issue. So anyways, so let's hear what you're going to have to say in the future. I mean, this is not the end of this, right? So let's move along.
Yep.
Carl, did you have anything else you wanted to say, Carl?
No, that was the most striking thing I saw about this, So I'm looking forward to the other analysis, and then we can go from there. So that's fine.
Okay. Is there another commission? I'm sorry, Matt. Is it?
Yeah, Ben, could I just make one clarification?
Please do.
So I just wanted to make clear that my first preference in reviewing this would be to see those, as Carl said, those buffer zone areas left in their natural form, as opposed to being cut down, graded, and then seeded or even planted. I don't, when Mr. Bernardino kind of presented it, I want to make it clear that planting or seeding a regraded area would be a second choice if the commission decided to allow the way it's designed first. But the first preference would be obviously to maintain the existing mature forested areas to the extent feasible.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Are any other commissioners who would like to offer questions or comments?
I'd like to kind of second, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Second, what you were saying and what Carl was saying, because I was also quite confused by the drawings and the extent to which the full buffer zone is being deforested, well, all the trees cut down and regraded, because it does look like that there's quite a bit of regrading that's happening. So to me, it would make things a whole lot more clear if there was a plan that indicated what are the areas where you're gonna leave the trees. Where are the trees? We very commonly see plans with, all the trees marked, right? Where are you leaving the trees? Where do you intend the lawns to be? And which portions of the buffer zone are being regraded? And I certainly, as everyone else who's spoken on our side has said, would prefer plans that are significantly smaller in their impact to the buffer, because it looks in those plans like the whole thing is gone outside of the 20 foot. So it'd be nice for that to be clarified. And as well, I mean, do we get to see these alternative plans and comment on them? And do we get to hear what the rationale was from planning? Why they want the more impactful development? Because that seems like a strange statement for them to have made.
Melissa, I'm just thinking out loud here. Is there any way through contact with Karina, you could maybe gain some insight into the rationale for their decision? I'm curious also. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other commissioners who would like to offer? Yes, Sherry.
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions and then some comments. Is the road going to be private or public at end of day?
Mike might be able to add, but my understanding is.
Sorry, what?
The public road.
Okay, so you're going to ask the town to accept it? So would you be asking the town to maintain the detention basin after that with the acceptance of the road? Or would that stay with Bartleby Properties?
I believe the current practice now is that the neighborhood has to have a HOA on the drainage.
Okay, so you are going to have a homeowners association. That was one of my other questions. You're going to implement a homeowners association, and then they would be responsible for maintaining the detention basin?
That would be, I think that's how they're done now. Yeah.
Well, the stormwater operation and maintenance plan didn't suggest that. It had left Bartolini Properties as the responsible post-construction property. So maybe revise that to have a future HOA to be the responsible party of that.
Okay.
And then my other question, so with the stormwater operation and maintenance plan that was presented, it had suggested that Bartleby Properties would be street sweeping the driveways and the street 4 times a year. If you're going to go into an HOA, would you be having statements for the homeowners to understand that they'd be responsible for sweeping their driveways 4 times a year?
Yeah, it would be street sweeping. We'll take a look at that. It's not going to be necessarily individual driveways. So we'll take a look at that a little closer just to make that clearer.
Yeah, it's just
it's the roadway maintenance.
It's just I don't think that's feasible. So maybe coming up with something that's probably more feasible for the homeowners. The other thing with that, the illicit discharge statement wasn't signed. A second one tonight. So just looking at that. And then, yeah, so with the plans, I'm in agreement with them that I'd like to see where you're proposed, just the dotted wood line at the end. I'd also like to see what you propose for a lawn area, maybe in the back. So if it's not going to be treed and you're trying to have the conservation mix or whatever seed mix come back to life, there will be an area that you'd have the residents for their lawn. Obviously, everybody wants a backyard. So just something that a box out or whatever that you would think would be where the lawn would be put. And then soil stockpiles were shown on the plan. So just wondering where you would be doing that during construction. And then do you have a phasing plan for this as to when you're going to grub each lot or how you're going to do it and what steps you're going to do? Just a timing on that, because you had the application had stated that they would only grub 1 acre at a time, but if you're going to clear off 5 lots, then that's obviously more than 1 acre. So just trying to figure out what the timing on all of that is. And then what time of year would you be thinking about doing the grubbing would be my other question.
To be honest with you, I'm probably going to hold on to this. We're probably going to be holding on to this for a while. We have another project to go before this project. That being said, we honestly will, like Jim said, we usually do the road first, clear the road, and then we do. I mean, we don't do 5 to 10 houses a year. We do, 2 to 3. So we usually do one at a time. So
you won't just be clearing the whole, you'll do the road and then you'll just, so I guess that's why I asked for like a phasing plan. If you said like, okay, we'll do one line, it doesn't have to be in that order, but just something saying that you would phase in the road first and then you'd phase in each lot as you went, just to understand the timing. I understand that you have to put up the money to build the house. I get that. Just trying to not have so much open earth at one time was where my question generates from.
Yeah, I think we could update that rather than a phasing. It's more of a sequence plan. There's no specific timeline, but more of a sequence. When you finish this, you go on to the next. I could work with Barnolini Properties to put a little more better verbiage together on that to make it a little clear for you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Are there any other commissioners who would like to offer questions or comments? Okay, so I'm going to open this up to the public. Before doing that, we've received a great deal of correspondence that Mr. Bernardino mentioned previously about this project. And I understand there are quite a few people here tonight that want to speak. We're going to make sure that everybody gets the opportunity to speak. In order, so that we can do this without being here all night or in fact running out of time, what we'll ask is that everyone make an attempt to when speaking, bring new information to the commission and try not to repeat information that has already been given to the commission. That being said, letting us know that you support or object to the project, that is new information for each person, and we welcome that. But if everyone has the same list of 10 concerns or 15 or 20 concerns, and we go through each person, we will be here till 1 a.m. or have to end the meeting early, and we'd like to avoid that. And then lastly, it's pretty clear we're not going to be taking any action on this evening. These hearings will be continued until January 7th. And of course, at that meeting too, we will also be welcoming public input. So with that all said, Melissa, could you look for raised hands and
I will. As of right now, there are no raised hands. So if you would like to speak, please use that feature. It should be in the lower portion of your screen. And I will be happy to call on you. I'm not seeing any. Oh, there is one. So I'm going to allow Ryan Berry to speak.
Good evening, Mr. Berry.
How are you guys doing? Can you guys hear me?
Very well, thank you. Yep, we can hear you well.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the opportunity to grow up, within a mile of multiple Bartolini projects, and I'm in full favor of any Bartolini project. I thoroughly enjoy all the developments that they've created. My family and I really take a lot of time to go walk down their developments. One of the things that we've been most impressed with that you don't always see with other developers, in my opinion at least, is their commitment to the environment. I think you look at a lot of other builders and developers who seemingly just take down all trees and any tree in their way. And the most important thing to me that I've seen from the Bartolinis is the fact that they've tried to uphold environmental standards. They've really tried to, it's very obvious that they keep privacy between their lots. They keep as many trees as possible. I'm always impressed with their landscapes, the way that they're able to provide lawns, front yards, side yards, backyards, just for all clients that they have. I'm really in favor of them. They have a lot of history. in Southborough. They've built a lot of Southborough. I think it's really important to keep their name and keep their brand within Southborough to, continue sort of, the name of our town. And I think, they're really important to us. And I'm in full favor of any project that the Bartolini presents, because I really don't think that there's anyone who could do better than they do. And I don't think that there's anyone who would be as committed to upholding Southborough as they would. And I think that's rare. You don't find people who have a history in the town of Southborough like the Bartolinis do. They care about the town. Their families have lived in the town for as long as this town has been around. And just that commitment, I think, is really important. So if there's any developers and builders that should be building in Southborough, Massachusetts, it's absolutely the Bartolinis. And I highly recommend anyone go take a look at their final products, their commitment to the environment, their commitment to the products. And I just don't see any reason why we shouldn't let the Bartolinis develop in Southborough.
Thank you very much, Mr. Berry. I see another hand has gone up.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry, Ryan, can you just let me know your address for the minutes? And
yeah, 184 Middle Road, about a mile within at least four projects or 5 projects, including Ruby Estates, that they have been a part of.
Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to say in my introduction, please, prior to speaking, give your name and your address. Thank you. The next hand.
Yes, I apologize if I butcher this name. So Saipan, you are allowed to talk.
Okay, you're on mute if you're trying to talk.
Okay, all right. Hey, this is Alexis Fallon over at Breakneck Hill Road, 60 Breakneck. I can't change my ID on the Zoom. That's why it has part of my email address. So, and I can't seem to adjust it. So sorry about that. But just to concur, I live kind of near the Mount Vickery project, and I've seen a lot of the work over the last couple of years off and on. And I do agree with Ryan that, when the Bartolinis do things, they usually take their time and they put a lot of effort into reaching out to the community. I'll be honest that they do try to keep the tree line. I don't see them kind of just cutting everything down. So, and they always seem to really try to work to make sure that the houses fit in with the design of how the other existing structures. So overall, I do agree that it will be a well-developed development. Now, in terms of traffic on the road, that's a separate issue. But alas, this is the way developments are. And I do understand Carl's worried about the floral and fauna. That is something that maybe they can consider instead of making everything lawn. But other than that, I would say that they'd be doing the development properly.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else in the waiting room here who would like to speak?
I don't see any hands currently, although there was a chat asking if the letters that were sent in would be read. Ben, I don't know if you want to address that or you want me to.
So the letters that we received they've been circulated to every commissioner, and they are part of the official record of the commission, not just for this project, but for every project. It has not been our practice to read these letters either from project proponents or or abutters into the record. I would like to assure you that the commissioners each have received the letters and we've read them. Yeah, but we typically do not read them into the record. We do welcome comments and questions from anybody who wishes to speak. I expected quite a few more people would be interested in speaking, and we may have some viewers who are not signed up in the waiting room here. I would encourage you that if you don't speak tonight, please come to the meeting on January 7th, and we'll give you the opportunity then to offer your comments if you don't wish to do so tonight. Okay, so I open it one last time to the, oh, Melissa, I'm sorry. Oh, here we
There's
go.
one.
Great.
Yep. So hold
Okay.
on one second. Erin, I will allow you to speak. You should be able to unmute yourself now.
Awesome, thank you. Hi guys, this is Erin. I'm at 170 Middle. I wasn't going to speak because I didn't want to be repetitive what you were just saying there, but I did want a little bit more clarity about earlier on in the process and the development of different site plan scenarios. So my question is were there any site plans that were created and presented that did not interfere with all of the buffer zones? So that's my first question. My second one is more so about the residents and kind of the earlier point about the backyards. So they are pretty close to the wetlands and there's not many trees actually down there. So what is going to be done that's prevented that those residents won't be, you know, using that as a living space right up into the wetlands? Those are my two questions.
Mr. Bartolini or Mr. Bernardino, do you care to?
Hi, Aaron. Yeah, we presented a flex development to the planning board. We did several meetings with them. I think they didn't like the placement of certain things. So they, for their reasons, decided that they wanted the conventional plan. There's not a whole lot I can do about that. In terms of them not using the 20-foot no touch, I believe we put up signage for that. Or like the little the emblems. I mean, they have to follow the same rules as everybody else. I mean, they're not, obviously the commission, I know there's several members of the board that drive by there all the time, but it's not something that they can just turn into yard. I mean, it is monitored by the town, so that's really it.
We do typically, in any approval, we condition that the 20-foot no touch be monumented in a way that makes it apparent to the homeowners. And we've used various methods, including fences, boulders, granite monuments, a variety of different techniques. And in fact, on projects, Mr. Bartolini, that you've done in the past, we've used various techniques to highlight that it's a 20-foot no touch and it's not to be used.
Right, I think on Leeds Way, we used, we put metal pins into.
Pheno stakes, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. We have a question in the chat, just generally asking what is a flex development plan, which is outside of our purview as a conservation commission, but Mr. Bartolini, if you would be so kind, just to very quickly could you give us just a very quick idea of what was presented, the differences? You told us the roadway was approximately 200 feet shorter, and my understanding is smaller yards, smaller setbacks, allowing a denser development. Is that correct?
It's not denser in terms of how many units you get. It's more compact, I guess is the way to explain it. So basically, they require, in exchange for more compact subdivision, they require it's basically a certain amount of open space that you have to give. We met that criteria. They didn't like the way it was laid out. So we ended up doing the conventional. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know if they'll come back with that at all. I mean, the reason why I brought it up was basically to explain how we ended up at the conventional. that's the path that they set us on. That's the path that we've invested in. So.
Understood. Thank you very much. Do we have anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak this evening?
I am not seeing any other hands at this moment.
Okay. Anybody in the commission who wishes to speak again before we, oh, here we have another hand.
Sarah, you have an older version of Zoom and it's not allowing me to allow you to talk. Hold on 1 second. I have to promote you up. Hi. Go right ahead if you unmute.
Okay, you're on mute. There we are.
I live on 7 Moulton Road. Per Ryan explaining that the builder really cares a lot about the environment. Can you explain more about what you do then? Because, you know, when I see some of these large developments happening, it doesn't seem like it's leaving much trees and areas for the environment. So if you could you just elaborate on that?
Mr. Bernardino or Mr. Bartolini, I think.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we routinely don't do clear cutting. It's not really something we do. I mean, we are very conscious of our neighborhoods. We have a specific look that we try to attain. I think a lot of the members of the board could probably speak to our past projects. I know the last project we did deed a lot of open space, but yeah, I mean, we're conscious of what we do, and we try to do things in a conscientious way. I mean, yeah, I mean, we are builders, so there are trees that need to be removed. So.
Yeah, and part of that, if I just want to add on, as Mike Bartolini mentioned, that they don't rush. They're not wanting to get 20 houses up in 1 year, make a profit, and move on to the next big development. They're committed to the community, as was stated before. They've been here for generations now within the community, and when they do build their product, they do take time and work each individual lot into its natural environment that's there to the best that they can do so, rather than just clear cutting and getting 7 houses, 8 houses all, you know, erected 10% and moving on. They take the time and effort to individualize each of their building lots to fit into the natural environment to the best that they can.
Okay. Do you also consider the season because of wildlife and the season of spring and certain times of building, or do you just build when you can?
In terms of, do I consider the season?
A lot of builders who care more about environmental and wildlife will build per the seasons, because certain seasons have more, like spring is when all the babies are born, and when certain animals are more prone to be harmed when things are built. Or do you just build? I mean, that's just a yes or no. It doesn't seem like you go by that.
Like Jim said, we try to be conscientious of everything we do. So we take our time, we go through things. We just don't smash and grab. So.
And if I like to add that, I don't know if it was mentioned previously or not. The development is obviously completely located within upland areas. So there, you know, the wetland, bordering vegetated wetland is going to remain intact. There's no mapped or known rare or endangered species and or habitat for the same on the site. There's very little underbrush throughout the property, which a lot of the thicker woods with the underbrush promotes more habitat and vegetation for wildlife. So we think and we believe to be true that, yes, we understand that there is some impact to the site, but as far as, having a significant value, we understand it does have a value to the resource area, but we don't think there'll be any significant impacts to any wildlife as a result of the project.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to ask again if there's anybody in the public who would like to speak before we wrap things up for this evening. I'd like to mention again that we will be reopening this public hearing on January 7th if questions do occur to you. And then also, is there anybody on the commission who, before we wrap things up, has something they'd like to ask or comment on?
I just wanted
Ben,
to.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to confirm. Do we expect to get some sort of more clear maps or drawings for the January meeting, better indicating, what people are talking about, lawn, which areas would be sort of cut down in order to enable the grading, things like that? Extent of forest to remain?
I would certainly hope so. Mr. Bernardino, is that on your to-do list?
Yes, we got some great feedback from the commissions on that aspect, as well as O&M and a couple other minor notes that I've made during the call. I'll work with the applicant to establish some updated drawings and clarifications and narratives that may be applicable as well. So yes, we're going to do our best and get that to the commission as soon as possible to give everybody as much time as practical to do their review.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and Matt, you were about to say something?
Just a couple last quick thoughts. One was on lot 6 on the plan. It seemed though that there was a section of lot 6 that seemed to be intentionally sort of being left untouched. And I don't know if that had an effect on what the layout of the road was, and I didn't know just curious as to what the basis of that was, whether if that wasn't there, if that could pull the road further away and move everything further away from the wetlands. And then just to follow up on Mr. Bernardino's comment about wildlife habitat, just wondering if there's been any wildlife habitat study done or evaluation done on the property to back up any comments on wildlife habitat.
Just touch base on that. No, there's been no wildlife habitat study done on the project. In relation to your comment on lot number 6, that initial little knoll that's being saved there, those are that's an outcrop of ledge. So we're looking to it does have quite a bit of vegetation growing out of it. So we're looking to limit that earthwork operation there. And maintain some vegetation up in that front corner of the property. The layout of the road, that area did not dictate the layout of the road. What dictated the layout of the road was basically, the evaluation of the project viability with, considerations of construction costs and purchase price of the property and the like, where it was found that 6 lots is what would be necessary to make the overall development viable. In doing so, that basically outlined or dictated where that roadway design and layout would be to allow for the 6 lots. If the roadway were to be pushed over to the other direction, the requirements of the subdivision control bylaws or the subdivision regulations would require lot sizes and frontages that could not be achieved to accommodate 6 lots should that road be moved over. Lot 6, if you look at the area of that, that's right at the minimum lot area. So if that gets altered, obviously a lot would be lost, or it would be a trickle down effect, going all the way around proposed roadways in consideration of lot area and lot frontage.
Thank you. Okay, I think this brings us to a good place to break off until January 7th. Would somebody like to make a motion to continue until then?
Moved.
We have a motion. Is there, okay, we have a second. Could we have a roll call?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat.
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. And we will see you on January 7th.
Great, thank you very much.
Have a good night. Let's see, moving along. Sounds like we have a couple of continuances. Is it still the case? Both Bigelow Road and Granuel are being continued?
Correct.
All right. I do have to read the statement prior to continuing, correct? I think I'll just do it. I think so.
You can shorten it.
I'll be quick. Bigelow Road. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7:50 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a notice of intent for a project located at Bigelow Road, map 49, lot 19, for the applicant Robert Stewart. The project description is construction of a gravel trail and viewing platform for Southborough Open Land Foundation. They've requested that we continue. Do we have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
And a vote by roll call?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes?
Heat.
Yep.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, Lot 5, Granuel Road. In accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Southborough Wetlands Bylaw, the Southborough Conservation Commission will conduct a public hearing on Thursday, December 3rd, 2020 at 7:50 p.m. via a virtual Zoom meeting. The commission will consider a notice of intent for a project located at Lot 5, Granuel Road, previously part of 26 Granuel Road, map 50, lot 51, for the applicant Whitney Street Home Builders LLC. The project description is construction of a single-family home, septic, and associated improvements and installation of an impervious barrier to contain breakout from the disposal area. They're seeking a continuance. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, vote by roll call.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat.
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Okay, that's it for the hearings. Moving along, we're up to a discussion on the Halloran CR. It's a little disappointing where we've ended up here, but
So
see we have- oh yeah, go ahead.
It's Alan.
No, I brought Alan into the meeting, so hopefully he's here. If so, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, can you guys hear us?
Yes.
We can. Thank you for coming, Mr. Belniak.
Sure, thanks for having us.
Melissa, you've been in more contact with Aldo than anybody else. Sounds like we're at kind of a tough spot here. I'm regretful. Mr. Belniak, I was involved with the working to get the town to appropriate the funds to purchase the Halloran property, and you were incredibly helpful in that endeavor, letting us cross through your property, and I'm grateful for that. I don't know how we ended up in this kind of a mess.
I share the sentiment. I'm not sure how we ended up here either. From what I heard from Kathy Halloran, because we trade messages every now and again, the way I understood it is she actually what she told me was that she tried to work through some sort of a land exchange, land swap with the town before the sale of the property, and was told that no, just do it after town meeting, it'd be much easier, which, as we all know, is not the case. It's actually made it much harder.
Oh, yeah.
It's actually now seemingly impossible, which is just really a shame, because hopefully the issue I've tried to convey to you is that we're just trying to do like what can work out pretty easily for us and for the town. Like, that's why we suggested a simple land swap or even a purchase, or just like, it's just that small piece of land, just, and it stinks that there's seemingly no easy or even moderately difficult way to make this happen. It seems the only approach here is an extremely difficult or impossible option. And that's, it's just deflating.
For everyone's benefit here, once the town's name appears on the deed for the property and it's put in the care and control of the Conservation Commission, it becomes subject to Article 97, which means that for the town to dispose of any interest in that property requires a 2/3 vote by town meeting. And then it requires a vote in both houses of the legislature. Even to get that done successfully, the time frame is very long. It's a very complicated process, and it's, from a practical standpoint, it is just about impossible.
It's also not a free, not free process either.
No. Yeah,
there's significant costs associated with that.
Yeah. So there was some discussion, I understand, relative to a license that would last for the extent of your tenancy at the property, but that doesn't address the concern of the loss of property value that you had assumed with the incorporation of this chunk of property. In the absence of some way to actually do a land swap, I mean, are you interested in pursuing something like that? Is that something that we can work with you on? Melissa, the correspondence we had from Aldo, was that under attorney-client privilege?
It was. I mean, the commission technically has the ability to waive that. I know that town council advises against that, but that's up to the commission.
Yeah.
I know most of the correspondence that I at least have had with Aldo, he had at one point, my understanding is a talk to Attorney Nealon, which I've now known from the Belniaks wasn't so great in communication with them. So I think a lot of this has been held up in that miscommunication in terms of trying to find a solution, which is an unfortunate circumstance, in that trying to find the best movement forward, if that is the actual license. I think Aldo got the impression that, that wasn't the favorable way. So ultimately, his recommendation at the end was to not, and Attorney Nealon asked to wait, but then we received no response after that. So I think the most viable option at this point, in my understanding, is doing that kind of revocable license, in terms of not necessarily doing an actual deed to the Belniaks, but having that certain amount of time that they are allowed to use that section of the property, whether it's that 20 years or when they move, whichever comes first, I think was what was previously discussed, is kind of the sole way to go about this that makes it the cleanest, simplest, fastest, and cheapest. It was, I at least appreciate very much the map and plan that the Belniaks produced to us that showed that encroachment area. I think that in itself, if the town would put those kind of some markers down to in the future, so we know kind of that area, so we can monitor it, would be the best kind of way to move forward if that's what both parties are looking at. And that way, you know, in our yearly monitoring reports, we can keep track of that. And come, you know, the time of the sale or when that 20 years is up, you know, those boundary markers will be there, and we'll have an easy way to move forward and keep track of the area. But it has been a lot of, you know, back and forth and miscommunication. So I'm glad, you know, we're here at this point, and I think the commission is as well.
Yeah. So I understand you had some frustration, we'll call it, with the attorney, and I don't want to see you penalized with that, but you know, penalized for that. You know, if you'd like to pursue the you know, the path that Melissa outlined, as you know, even if it's just a case of it's better than nothing at all, I guess. You know, we'll certainly communicate with Aldo, with town council, that's what the commission wants to do. And you know, we don't want to hold against you this, you know, all this stuff that's happened. That wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, gratitude for Melissa for letting me unload about the frustrations I've had in the past, which I won't bother bring up here, but just suffice it to say, there were some substantial communication gaps, but thankfully between us and our prior attorney, but we're moving beyond that. So it just sounds like when you kind of like look at all the options that are left, there's always a do nothing option. There's the option that was originally proposed in the CR, which is the 20 years, either 20 years for us or until we sell, whichever comes first. And now that seems like that's the one that's proposed. I don't think there's any other option. So I guess if those are the two options, do nothing, which doesn't benefit us at all, or the option that was originally proposed in the CR, which mildly benefits us, I think we'd be foolish to not take that one. So if those are the only two, then we'd like to move forward with the 20 year.
I need to ask, how does the rest of the commission generally feel about that? Does anybody wish to speak? Are we generally in favor of working with the Belniaks on this? And the two options are a license that allows them to use the property for 20 years or until they move, or the other is sadly, I would hate to see it come to this, but literally in order to vacate that small corner of the Halloran property. And it really is, in the general scheme of things, it's a small area.
1,700 square feet approximately, less than the square footage of a condo.
Yeah, but an important area for your use of your yard that you've become accustomed to. So those are really the only two options before us. So for my part, I'm in favor of working to grant the license. So,
yeah, I agree with you, Ben. I mean, we need some kind, out of consideration, we need some kind of transition to make this as comfortable as possible, as difficult as it is. You know, at some point, it's still going to be it's still, when a sale comes up, it's still going to be a hard issue, but there's nothing, I don't think there's any way we can get around that, but we can try to cushion the blow, I guess. Yeah, so I too apologize for the mess that you've gone through.
okay, I'm not hearing from anybody else.
I'd support that too.
Okay, thank you. So
mechanistically, how do we do it?
It's not really a formal process, but I guess I would recommend that we conduct a vote on it. You know, that we are in favor of it, and also that we're asking Melissa to communicate our strong desires to follow this path to town council.
If I may, Melissa, when we met at my property, I guess it was a year and a half ago or whenever it was, that's when you had shared the draft CR with us, which had that language, and then that's what started us down this path, right? Yep. So, I mean, had we done nothing, what would have been the action then? We would say, yes, we agree to that CR and you move forward. So in essence, we're right back where we started, just with 1.5 years of delay. So is there really an action required on the board's part? Or, I mean, it's just, or no, I don't.
So I think we've also gone through a lot of steps in terms of from the miscommunication. So I think another formal vote is a good way to clear up the loose ends. You know, yes, we have ended up in the kind of where we started, but I think that vote and kind of keeping the, I guess, the current draft of the CR and making up, you know, if we do need to make some other sort of quote unquote license for both properties to have, you know, I don't know if that also needs to be recorded, but that's something that I'll talk with town council about and most definitely involve you directly so that we can discuss, I think, some of the other, you know, specifics that we might have to discuss as we, you know, get a little bit closer. I know there was some discussion like the year and a half ago about what that area would look like, you know, if you're going to keep it maintained, but if you do plant, we'd want native species. So I will find those backlog documents again and kind of refresh, I think, everyone's memories on kind of where we left off on the specifics of that area. But I guess essentially, yes, we are kind of back to where we started, but I do recommend the commission making that final vote to kind of clear up those loose ends. I think on both sides, you know, it gives both you and us the sense of the communication is fixed and that we know exactly where we're going. And that final vote gives us that closure.
One thing, Ben, just one comment. I know we say 20 years. Now I've been put here for 35 years in Southborough. So I think, why not make it longer? I don't know how long they plan on staying here. You know, hopefully you'll be here 50 years, right? If you put 20 years on it, you know, regretfully, we may come up against that deadline and have to deal with this. So I think we should make this, you know, what's wrong with 50 years? I mean, if
I
they
agree with you, Carl.
Yeah.
I fully agree with you.
Yeah.
So we want to do 50 years or when the house is sold, whichever comes first.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Aldo has indicated that there's no way that such a license would be transferable to a succeeding property owner.
I believe so. And I think if it's, I know before, like Alan had said, it was we explicitly put it in the CR as well.
Okay.
So that's something that, you know, we will monitor SVT well in the years coming.
Okay. So I guess we'd be looking for a motion to authorize Melissa to work with town council to draft a license allowing the Belniaks the continued use of this 1,700 square feet, 1,700 plus or minus square feet of property on the Halloran parcel adjacent to their parcel for a period of 50 years or when they sell their house, the shorter of the two. I think would capture it. Would somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A vote by roll call?
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat.
Yep.
Geyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
and Wittes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So what I'll do, Alan, is probably early next week, I'll circle back with you, you know, to start those discussions with town council and make sure that you're involved and make sure that the language that we conclude on, you know, is obviously agreeable to both parties. So we'll get this finalized and we'll start working out those final details. And I appreciate both of you for, you know, everything done in the past and reaching out to me again recently to make sure that this is all kind of come together.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Okay, so next up is a potential violation at 60 Breakneck Hill Road. Melissa, you have the details?
Yes, and Alexis is here, so I'm going to promote her up to a panelist. Just a second while that loads. So a quick background on this is that this is the house adjacent to Breakneck Hill Farm. There recently have been rocks that have been delivered to the property near the pond and appear to be within the buffer zone to the pond. And so I followed up with Alexis, who asked for some written correspondence. So I sent her a letter asking her to this meeting. And I don't know if Alexis, you want to provide any background or discussion on what's going on there.
Well, I think that the big thing is I did some research, and basically minor activities under regulation 310 CMR 10.02, 2 subsection B sub 2 deals with activities of a minor that do not require a permit, or can be within the 100-foot to 20-foot buffer zone. These are fencing with regards to stone walls. So I am doing some stone work. That is why I have stone. I am rebuilding the stone walls, which is why I got the stone. And I'm trying to use locally sourced stone, which I got for my neighbor, because I asked him for it, because I'm trying to make sure that the stone matches the existing stone of the stone fence that I presently have. So this stone is Southborough stone. So therefore, what am I doing? I've already used the stone already to redo one of my patios, and I can show you guys pictures. I don't know how to do it through this particular Zoom right now because it's on my cell phone, but it's an incredible stone. So the stone that I presently have that I got delivered is the stone exactly the same quality as the Burnett house. It is Southborough quarried stone. It is pink granite. It is rare. There's only 2 quarries in Massachusetts that actually produce this kind of stone. One was Quincy. It's now been tapped out. The other is in Milford, and now Southborough. And I had to talk to some of the other older developers like a Mr. Bartolini. I called Jack and I asked him, I had noticed that the quality of the stone, I had my mason go over and inspect the stone before I accepted delivery. So the quality that the stone that we presently have is amazing. I can provide pictures for you guys to see what I'm working with, but it is incredible stone, and I'm going to be using it for my repair of my rock walls. And I'm going to be making some more rock walls around the edges of my property. I'm getting a land surveyor to put up the stakes so I can put rock walls around. I called the town. The town told me as long as the rock walls are under 5 feet, which of course I'm not going to make them bigger than that. They said I don't need a permit. Then I've now done the research on the wetlands provision, and they have provisions specifically for fencing. And they said as long as it doesn't constitute a barrier to wildlife movement, stone walls and stacks of cord wood. So these are things that can be within the buffer zone, quote unquote, between the 120-foot mark or so, and it won't trigger a violation. Also, you know, as you know that I own the pond, so I do on occasion have to cut down tree limbs, pull out trees out of the pond. This is also considered a part of pruning and landscaping, which I'm glad to see that the regulations do cover. So basically, I'm not doing any permanent structures, as I told Melissa. There's nothing there that I'm going to be building a building or anything like that. This stone is already started to be used. I've already started moving it I've already applied it actually. I've already incorporated it into one of my decks. And my intention is to repair the rock walls over the next 6 months. I have to wait because of the winter. I'll try to use some of it some more, and we have one more project I can try to fit in before the snow falls. But other than that, that's what I was going to use it for. And it says here in the regs that it's not considered, it's considered a minor activity.
So we have with us our consultant, Matt Barrell, who just happens to be very, very familiar with the Wetlands Protection Act. And Matt, are you familiar with the section that's being quoted here?
Yes, and I don't disagree that that specifically stone walls are listed as a minor activity, presuming it doesn't create a barrier to wildlife. Everything she quoted was correct under the act. I guess my only question would be is I don't believe that same language exists in the bylaw. So that would really be, leave it to the commission as to if the commission feels, the bylaw regulations are that much stricter and require some other action. But under the act, I agree, it's considered a minor activity that doesn't necessarily require an application.
I think the initial concern may have been that when a pile of rock appeared, that there may be some filling taking place. I think that may have been the initial concern. We understand that that's not the case, but that may have been what prompted this. I'm not sure. I see a hand going up. Carl?
Just a quick question. Unless you describe some other work other than the stone wall, some patio work and things like that. Is that outside the buffer area?
No, it's right off my house. If you've been to my house, you know that I have it's a deck, and I put stone for my deck instead of the wood. So so that's all that I did. I used all the stone provided.
But do you think that's outside of what's considered because I think that would not, people want to modify the decks within the buffer area, we'll review that, right?
Well, I called the town and they said I asked if I needed a permit for the patio, right? Because I was redoing the patio. They said no. I asked them about my driveway. I'm redoing the driveway. They have no permit for the driveway. I called them about my stone wall. They have no permit for the stone wall, you guys. So every single thing that I have called the town about, I've been told I don't need a permit for. I got a permit when I changed my door and my windows. I have that properly tapped up on the side of my house. I called them about that. They said, yep, you need a permit for that. Paid for the permit, got it issued. Asked about the deck. They said no. Like, okay. So it's not like I didn't ask, Carl. I got the permit that they said for me to get, which was, you know what I mean? And even now I got to put the driveway in, and I call like 3 different offices, and it's not within 100 feet. It's 100 feet away from the pond, because I want to put a new driveway, to make it like a loop, so it's not so sharp. And, it's just, they don't have anything for driveways. So I was surprised by that. And I want to use the rock as pavers. I'm not going to use asphalt. I'm going to use all natural material. That's what's so cool about it. So you guys, anybody that's really a tree hugger should like this. I am not going to use asphalt. I'm going to use this beautiful granite, and I'm paying the masons, and they're going to put a nice driveway that will last 100 years, probably longer than the house.
You're not the first person to notice that sometimes the communication between us and building department isn't all that one could hope, unfortunately, although it is slowly improving, I believe.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be careful too, because I have to be able to get, like I said, it's Melissa, I knew Beth Rosenberg beforehand. So for me, I'm used to being able to pull trees out of the pond. If they fall in during the winter, I just do the normal care and maintenance. Obviously I do not put stuff into the pond, because I know, I wouldn't do that, because that's against the law, but I do have to take care of it on occasion. I do want to kind of I'm trying to make it a little bit cleaner. I did buy some natural grasses about 8 years ago that seem to have taken root, but now the bittersweet that you guys had treated on the conservation land has now invaded my property. So now the problem I have is that you guys treated the bittersweet on your side, and now I got a whole bunch of bittersweet that I never had before. Now I got a whole bunch at the far end of the pond area, and I'm a little concerned about that, because I don't know what to do about treating the bittersweet. And that will be for conversation for another day, because it's close to the pond. How do you kill it? And it's very invasive. It's strangling the trees. So I don't know what that would entail. So another time, I suppose I could ask you guys about what to do about the bittersweet invasion. Because
we'd love to talk with you about that in the future. Melissa, so it sounds like this is something that is town bylaw specific. Is this something that, had it come to us as an RDA, just sort of knowing the commission, is this something we would have issued a negative determination on. I'm sorry, I didn't have the opportunity to go out and take a close look at it, so.
No, I think it definitely depends on the areas in which the stone walls are going. I think the initial concern was that the rocks themselves are kind of in decent sized stockpiles, in that little access way to the pond. So I think that was at first the main concern, is just the amount of rock and the proximity of them.
Right, but that access way is my driveway. I own that driveway. It is not access to the conservation land. So that's another thing that I do see a lot of people, walking around the pond. Now here's the other problem I have. I did have a couple people on the dam, and of course, I'm responsible if a child falls in and gets injured. I've been trying to put up no trespass signs, which is why I'm going to be building rock walls. Because my concern is that I think people think that the pond is a part of the conservation land, and it's not. And I have people accessing that roadway, that my driveway, my second driveway, as being accessed. That's not access. The town has no right to that. Melissa, you know what I mean?
I'm not saying that we're using it as access. I'm just saying that's where they are, just that access way. So not our access, but just the general area.
Now, I don't think, mainly what I'm trying to do is trying to make it look nice. You know what I'm saying? I really am. I've put in a lot of effort. You guys, you'll see it, Carl, you guys. I'm trying to make it look natural. I'm trying to make it look like an old, like the way normal rock walls were done in Massachusetts. I'm trying to make it blend right in. That's what, so you probably won't notice it, like really, by the time I'm finished. Most of the work, you know what I mean? It should look, and I can show you guys pictures of what I'm doing if you need to see it.
So it sounds like there is no fill. It sounds like we don't have a risk of sedimentation or erosion. It sounds like the stockpiles of rock are clean and not they don't incorporate vast amounts of dirt or gravel. It's just the rock, and those stockpiles will be depleted as the walls are built. Is this something that any commissioner would like to take further action on or look at in any greater depth? Okay, I'm
a lot of shaking heads.
Yeah, I'm in the same position. I would like to thank you very much, Mrs. Fallon, for coming in and talking to us. I apologize for the inconvenience, but you've cleared things up, and it's much appreciated.
All right, thank you very much. Good night, gentlemen and lady.
Thank you.
All right, a couple of certificates of compliance. Watkins Lane.
All right, I'm going to bring Peter Bemis into this because this was quite an interesting one to figure out. Peter, are you there? Yes.
Hi.
So, will you give the background and the explanation on this one?
All right, I'll try. So I was not the engineer on this project, but this project happened to be down the street from where I raised my family. So I know the property quite well when it was a farm and then when it got developed. So this was Watkins farm. Mr. Watkins' homestead is still there. The family, I believe, redeveloped it, and there's a barn associated with it, and that is still considered 19 Richards Road. Watkins Lane is a subdivision off of that, and back in the late 90s, early 2000, it received permits and approvals for the development of these 11 lots. I think it was 12, excuse me. So there is a 12th one, and that is 19. So it's an interesting project, to say the least. A lot of pork chop lots, and there are lots on Woodland Road, Richards Road, and Corderville Road. There are 19 still comes in off of Richards Road, and then lots 1 and 2 and up through 3. So if you kind of follow this whole thing around, kind of clockwise, counterclockwise, you'll see those lots. They come off of what's called Watkins Lane. And then there's a lot 5, 4, and 6 that are off of, well, 5 actually gets its access off of Watkins Lane. but 4 and 6 get their access off of Woodland Road. Those lots were in a buffer zone, the ones on Woodland Road, but there was never a notice of intent filed for them. It looks as though there was some wetland replication area to be done at the rear of those lots. Lot 5 had no filing whatsoever. Lot 19, I don't believe, it may have had a filing. I'm not really involved in that one per se, but lots 1 through 12, lots 1 through 11 did, and were part of a filing. And what Melissa and I kind of found here was remnants. 2 lots were filed at the same time on each notice, interestingly. And lot 7 predominantly has the private way on it. So lot 7, which is kind of coming up all the way off of Richards Road and into its house, has a notice of intent and an order of conditions, and that order was 581. And so with what I filed with you, I've asked you to provide a certificate of compliance for a specific lot with its original order, and then also on lot 7 asked you for a partial, because the only way they could get access to the house is to go over lot 7, and would have needed that order of conditions in order to construct the road, the private road to their lot. Also interestingly, lot 3 did not have a notice of intent or order of conditions to build the base project. However, when they built an addition on the house, they did get an order of conditions. So there's a separate certificate request for lot 3, and that's based upon its newer order of conditions, which was 863, and lot 1. So what I've come to you tonight with is only asking for certificates for lots 1 and lots 3, because they have real estate closings that are imminent. Lots 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 7, I'm going to come back another day, likely next month, January 7th, because I'll get the certificates prepared for that. However, there's a lot more that has to be done here. There is a homeowners association. They do have a stormwater management system. It's located to the north of the sheet. Thank you, Melissa, for panning. That detention basin has not been touched for 20 years. And there are trees growing in it. So we're going to need to deal with that. And there's also some, as you might expect with homes of this nature having not really been cognizant of wetlands nearby, there's been some debris dumped and leaves and that sort of thing, particularly around the brook crossing. When I did the work on lot 1, which had a separate notice of intent filed for it, I want to say back in like 2007 or 8, we cleaned all of that up then before I even started the project. Beth Rosenblum was on the commission then, and we did get a certificate of compliance for that order. What I've applied to you tonight for is lot 1 was sistered with another one. I don't have my I'm sorry, I don't have the actual order in front of me for that one. But it was sistered with another lot. So again, when we were asking for the certificates, we're only asking you for the specific lot. I think it was lots 1 and 8. We're on the original order of conditions together. And lot 1 never got built in accordance with the previous order. I don't think Beth Rosenblum realized that there was an order on that one, or we would have asked you for a certificate for non-construction back in 2007, but unfortunately we weren't aware of it. It came up in a title examination recently for the lot transfer on lot 1. So that's it as far as the words are concerned. The plan that's in front of you is probably the most important thing. So Melissa had said, look, can you provide us with an as-built? So this plan is a red line as-built. We're overlaying the plans done by Bruce Salick Associates, which was the permitted plan for this project. And you'll see the roadway is constructed pretty close to what was proposed. There's very, very slight deviations in the shape and the geometry. The houses, and I'm sorry, the color's not coming through good here, but on the color plot Melissa got, it is pretty good. They're kind of in an orange color, and we show specifically that outline. And you'll see, for example, that is the lot 1 close up now. And again, that has its own certificate of compliance already issued. What we're asking you for now is for that old order. But we brought in the details that we had available to us, which is the driveway location, the building envelope, the septic system, and then the limit of work. And this, the heavy pink line here that's running throughout the site is the limit of work. And fortunately for the advent of GPS, we were able to get a nice, good, accurate reading on that for this project. If you could just pan over to lot 3, because it's lots 1 and 3 we're going to get tonight. So on lot 3, you can see the house was actually moved considerably away from where the wetland resource area was in the base build, and the small garage that's located to the north, that is what was on the order of conditions for 863 that I've asked you for the certificate on. And again, they follow the limit of work pretty closely. Drainage is also shown on here. So again, if you just pan a little bit, you'll see the crossing here. There's a retaining wall that was built, and then there's a series of catch basins that go out to the stormwater management system. And again, I'll for the meeting in January, we'll try to get our arms around all of that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
So to clarify, I did go out and kind of verified what Peter submitted. And to reiterate, so the request is for 4 separate certificates of compliance, a full certificate for 863, which is the construction of this garage on lot 3, a partial certificate under 581, only related to lot 3 in the construction of the road, an additional partial certificate of 581 for 4 Watkins Lane, which is lot 1. And this is also just for the road, and then a full certificate for 586, which was lot 1, because that was never built.
Wow. Go ahead, Phil.
So I guess, so the question is, do these all these lots satisfy the order of conditions?
Yes. To the best of our ability that we could find, yes, they satisfy the original order. These were also amended, and they were amended all in one amendment. So, you know, it's taken over a month to really go through all the filings to determine which lot was which application and what they were trying to get across. But as far as we can understand that, yes, per the order of conditions and the other various ones that replaced them, they are in compliance with the approvals.
So they're complete. Good. Thank you.
Yeah,
And thanks for all that effort.
As we get further down the road, we'll deal with that. But these 2 lots specifically are A-okay.
Right, yeah, I have emphasis on that. That's what I said to Melissa tonight. At least these 2 I can tell you are good. After that, we're gonna have to spend a little bit more time, and there was no way I could do that in the timeline we had.
Yeah, because ironically, you know, looking at this plan, you see that these 2 lots are actually, you know, very different than what they were proposed. But a reminder is that lot 1 was never built until the 2008 time in which it received a new order of conditions, which Peter has already previously closed out. So that has been completely done. Lot 3 never seemed to receive an actual order of conditions, but it was further away. But this addition of a garage did receive an order of conditions, and that is also what we're closing out tonight.
Yeah, right.
So even though it looks screwy, it's not.
Peter, I understand the detention pond hasn't been maintained. Did you pop any of the manholes or catch basins? Do you have any idea what kind of condition the drainage system is in?
I'm going to tell you that it's not been touched, Ben, and I expect to have to clean it out. And I've already warned the HOA that, and they do have an HOA, so that's the good thing here. That there's going to be some responsibility and things to do, and everybody's prepared to do the right thing. So that's the good news. They just weren't aware of this, and it's one of those things. It's kind of a, you know, a shame on me, but I wasn't the designer, so things just didn't happen. And it shows you why things need to happen. And you know, we are responsible for some of the other projects, and we try to give Melissa an annual report on time. Sometimes we're a little late, but we usually try to get them to her on the ones that we're responsible for.
Thank you. Well, Matt, was I interrupting you a moment ago?
I just had a question on the wetland replication, how that fits into all of this. If that's tied to any of these orders that are being closed out or partially closed out.
It's not even on any of them, Matt. Again, this was not done in a uniform way at all. I don't even know how they doubled down on every lot too. So they submitted 2 lots per notice filing. Obviously, I think they did it to save money when they did it, because I think they did it as one application. But again, that's so long ago, and unfortunately, we have this paperwork we have to try to walk through. Melissa's been kind enough to meet me. She brought her whole file outside. I took pictures of all of the sheets because, again, with COVID, it's just hard to be able to reproduce some of these documents. And like I said, what I was comfortable doing tonight with you was asking you for these 2. They are totally independent of the, well, they rely on the driveway for their frontage or excuse me, their access, not their frontage. Lot 7 relies upon that. And I'm only asking you for the partial because I think an attorney would surmise, how do I get to this house if I don't go down the street? And how did you get permission to be there? So I'm only asking you to sign off on the lot itself over that portion of the road. And when I come back on the January 7th meeting, I'll try to define all those other pieces better. We didn't even get to go look at that replication area from my perspective in my office. I wasn't prepared to do that in the timeline that we had.
And there are also 4 total notice of intent. So it's not even just these 2 that we are thinking of doing, or partials and maybe a full-on one. So there's 2 others that address other lots, but also other aspects of this development. So it was kind of awkwardly done in that some have very lot specific ones, and I think the ones that Peter did pull out for the most part are ironically the more specific ones. So there's at least 2 others that we have to address as well.
Well, so Melissa, you've taken a look at it. You concur that they are in compliance?
Yeah, these 2 lots, you know, I think especially given that lot 1 already had a superseding order of conditions, you know, that was in compliance. And then lot 3 had the garage that overtook kind of the initial.
Because you now understand what's going on, I think we will rely on you for the verbiage of the motions, and we'll just kind of nod our head at that and attack it that way.
All right, so my recommendation would be to issue a full certificate for 290-863, which is 3 walk-ins, a partial certificate for 290-581 for lot 3, which is 3 Watkins Lane, another partial certificate for 581 for lot 1 for Watkins Lane, and a full certificate for 290-586, which is for lot 1 for Watkins Lane.
Very quickly before we vote on that, I did have one quick question. I think, Peter, you mentioned that some of the wetlands had some trash in them or something. Was any of that near these ones that we're issuing orders of conditions for? Specifically, like the garage looks like it's very near the wetland. Is that clear now?
Yep. So I'll answer you honestly here. As I said, I did clean up all the areas specifically for the lot 1 property back in 2008. There were some leaves over by the bridge, but that's associated with lot 7 itself. It's on lot 7. And that, so when I come back for you on lot 7, it's going to have to be cleaned up. I've told the HOA that they will have to clean that area up, and they're aware of it. And on lot 3, there was a tree that had come down on the Burns property on that side of the garage, and some of that brush is still there. The landscaper is going to remove it. I have both the word of the owner, and I have the landscaper. And I said to Melissa, I have no problem with you holding that until I tell you that it's been done. I've given her my word on that as well. So I'm fine with her holding that until I prove to her that the brush has been removed. The one thing I do want to correct though, Melissa, just because I want to get this right. So the order of conditions for 586 included lots 1 and 9. I'm only asking you for lot 1 on that. Okay, let's just make sure, because 9, I have to come back to you for that.
Okay.
Again, it's loopy how they did this, but
So
that's how they did it.
586 is only a partial done for lot 1.
Right, it'll be a partial for lot 1,
Okay.
not for lot 9.
All right. I was reading your email, so.
I'm sorry. I made
Darn
that.
it. I thought we had it down.
I thought so too. This has been confusing for both of us, believe me.
Okay,
Melissa
so
put a lot of time into this too.
3 partials and 1 full.
That's the way I see it, yes.
Okay.
3 partials, 1 full.
Would somebody like to make a motion to capture all of that?
So moved.
And is there a second? All right, roll call vote.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, another certificate of compliance on Chestnut Hill Road. That's right, the widening there. In the
Sorry, can I just,
two-way.
sorry, Ben, can I just say, Melissa, that I think that was a really great piece of detective work and, you know, partnering with Peter in order to get that done. And, you know, I think it was a couple of meetings ago, we had the discussion about the importance of the annual report and how it, you know, saves both the applicants and the commission a huge amount of time if we make sure all these things happen on a timely basis. I think that was a perfect example of why it's so important to be able to keep that audit trail. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you. This was definitely some detective work because most of them didn't even reference like lot X for walk-ins. It was literally all the roads that surround it. So we went through that whole section of time to figure out which ones may be possible versus not. And thankfully it just was 4. And sometimes the numbers didn't make sense, but that's okay. We got it, maybe. So we'll move forward, but this was an interesting one.
All right, is there anyone here for Chestnut Hill Road? Oh, you said Vito is on vacation or something.
Yeah, and Matt did do a review, you know, if he wants to go over it. There wasn't anything, at least that I saw, that we needed Vito for.
I'm curious how the culvert came out. That was a big topic of discussion when we were doing the permitting.
Yeah, so as you remember, the original design of the culvert, I think, was supposed to be a 30-inch pipe, and then it turned into 2 12-inch pipes.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was a gas line and things got amended and everything. So as far as I can tell, there was no scour or anything. Everything appears to be functioning properly. It doesn't appear as though the wetland is, you know, the water's being backed up anywhere. And I mean, it's obviously been a short time frame to make any generalizations on impacts to wetlands, but I didn't see anything that seemed suspect. The only issue I had out there at all was the erosion controls are all still in place, including the silt sacks, which obviously should be cleaned up and gotten rid of. Other than that, I think it's all set.
Yeah, I kind of feel the silt sacks in particular ought to be gone. I mean, if they've been there that long, they're going to really be impeding flow through the catch basins. Were they full? Were they
They had leaves and stuff in them. I didn't, I'm guessing they probably clogged a while ago and somebody fixed them with a piece of rebar, shall we say.
Gotcha.
Which is what usually happens. So, but I didn't see a lot of sediment either. You know, it's been paved for quite a while.
Yeah.
And right now, obviously, there hasn't been any salt, sand, or anything put down. So, I think it's fine. But yeah, definitely the silt sacks probably more than anything should come out.
Yeah, I don't know how others feel about it. Does anyone have an opinion?
Has somebody committed to cleaning them up?
Yeah, so they will clean them up. You know, I think usually in these circumstances, we issue it, but then with the condition that it'll be released once the erosion controls are removed.
That's good.
Okay, yeah, we can do it that way.
And just so you guys know, I did confirm and talk with Karen Gallia and the DPW, and she's all set with this as well.
Right, any other questions, comments, concerns? Would somebody like to make a motion to issue a certificate of completion contingent, the release of which would be contingent upon the cleanup of erosion controls?
So move.
And,
I'm awake. I'm awake.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Geyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
and Wittes.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, Deerfoot Road. You've seen the correspondence and your explanations via email, Melissa. Has there been? Do you want to give us a recap of where we sit right now?
Sure, and I do see Lisa Dunderdale in the attendees if we want to bring her in for any comments. So I did go out and meet with Lisa, I want to say last week, to discuss her concerns about the runoff from 124 into her property at 122. I also walked around the property at 120 with her, which is the abutting property, which we had authority to do so. And, you know, there is, you know, water coming off the lot of 124 in which we have an SMP for. You know, I think sometimes there's a difference in opinion of what water trespass is. I did explain that water will still come onto the property. It just can't be at a greater rate or volume than it was at pre-existing conditions. So that's a good thing to understand, and we will look at when we come to the COC process. And then, you know, I think more so on the 120 property, Melissa's property, there was a little bit more of scouring that I did notice that was coming into her backyard that was closer to her house. Both properties kind of have the backyard that's more of a wooded area in which water can filtrate down into the backyard area. I think in both properties, there's some low spots in which water can accumulate. You know, I can't speak to what it maybe looked like before. I know that the abutters, you know, have been concerned because they're getting water in their basement, which they haven't done or haven't had previously. So I think my recommendation at this point would be for the commission to try and initiate the engineer or the builder to work on the COC process and getting those calculations into us so that we can have Fuss and O'Neill review them as well. The lot is, you know, fairly stable. There, I know at one point we did circulate, and Lisa brought up in her letter that she sent to us earlier today regarding that Bowler had proposed a swale along that property line. And when I was walking with her, you know, we kind of stayed on her property. It was unclear to me if that was built yet. The area was kind of filled with leaves, and it didn't look like that swale had been implemented. So I am following up with Bowler to kind of determine if that's still in the plans or where they are with that, and what, you know, what I guess their status is as a site as a whole, and to see if they are willing to do that COC. I don't think that the commission might necessarily have teeth in saying you have to do the COC right this second, but I think given all the abutters concerns, it would make a strong statement to say, since you're doing, there are other lots for the wetland stuff that will probably come up in January, they're closing out those, to just work on finalizing the lots that have the stormwater management permit on them for both 124 and 133 across the street.
Melissa, do you know, have they actually sold the property?
I believe so. I
So
asked,
it's really now the homeowners.
yeah, well, it
problem.
also depends on in some new homes, sometimes they have in the purchase and sale that for a specific amount of time, the builder is still responsible for certain aspects.
Okay.
And Brendan Homes has been very involved from what I understand with the homeowners that I have talked to, at least at 139, about getting or finishing up the certificate of compliance as on the builder side and not making the homeowners do it. I have not talked to the new owner at 124. I did remind Brendan that we do require that the new homeowner submit a letter of understanding about the stormwater features on the site and that the operation and maintenance plan. So I am waiting for that as well. And then hopefully that can start the discussion about future maintenance and where things stand.
Okay, good, thank you.
The proposal to initiate the certificate of completion process it's a great idea because, tying back to another thing you said, the flow of stormwater, the rate and volume is required to be less than or equal to what it was in the past.
Yep.
And because there's a risk of this becoming a completely subjective thing, one person saying it was never this bad, and another person saying sure it was, the only way to really drill down through that is when they put together an as-built plan. It can go to Fuss and O'Neill, and the DEP has laid out the methodology that we use to determine what the stormwater flow was before and what it is now, and we can finally get an answer to this one way or the other. And I think everybody involved on both sides should be pushing for this to happen, so we can finally get an answer and to what's going on.
Yeah, but if you're on the downstream side of this and you're getting water in your basement that you didn't get before, it's hard to accept the engineering analysis. I'm with you on the engineering analysis.
Yeah, no,
but it's a
yeah,
it gets emotional. Yeah.
Oh no, it really does. It really does, and this is the path forward to to resolve that.
Yeah.
So so first, any other questions or comments from any commissioner? Okay, so let's open it up to the public. Mrs. Dunderdale.
Lisa, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hello, Conservation Commission, how are you? Can you hear me?
Very well. Yes.
Actually, I've learned a lot tonight because I've been sitting here kind of listening and doing work as you've been talking about all these projects. First off, I just want to say thank you to Judy for coming out and walking the property with me during the rainstorm and looking at the flow of water coming across the property line and the retention barriers that are still in place too. And I want to say thank you to Melissa coming out the next day and kind of walking through both properties. Melissa DaCosta wasn't able to meet with her, but I don't know if Melissa's here tonight too, but we just wanted to say thank you for coming out and taking a look at the rain and what was happening on the road, because there's still a lot of water coming off the hillside, even into the road. That lot at 124, there's just water streaming into through the stone walls and into the road. but our biggest concerns is the amount of water that's coming off the property into our lots. And I wasn't sure about the swale. I did, and I was gonna ask about that if it had been completed. It sounds like we need to figure that one out. I do know that they put up those barriers probably around September time, when I guess they may have sent off that letter. So that would be interesting to find out. But I do know Judy saw a water on the very far side, the left side of the lot, was coming across. And there was a lot of video that I have taken that shows that water. So yeah, so whatever it takes. Melissa, you had also said that those barriers may be causing some of the problem too. So I'm not exactly sure why they haven't taken those away, because the lot is established.
Yeah, and what Lisa's talking about, the barriers, it's almost like an Oregon Road situation sometimes, in that they put up a fence as well along that back property line, but there's still erosion controls on the back of the fence on Lisa's side. So it kind of gathers in that in-between part. And I think it probably gets to a point where then it gushes over.
Okay.
Judy, did you have any comments on what you saw that day during during the rainstorm?
I mean, I think, Melissa's summarized it well. I think, there was definitely water flow, and you could definitely see it kind of pooling in certain areas. What I didn't have is the benefit of understanding what it was like before. And I think, Melissa's suggestion that we do the before and after through the certificate of compliance is a really great kind of, data-driven approach to it.
So, and that correspondence that I sent off, I'm assuming I need to go back and change it, because it's a certificate of compliance that you're trying to do. Is it a certificate of completion? So I want to make sure that everything's correct in that.
I think either word you use is fine. If you don't want it to edit it, we understand the gist, and it's understood.
All right. So how, I guess, what are next steps? What will, like you said, there's no way of, forcing his hand and having this done. So will you keep us abreast of what's happening?
Absolutely. So my next steps is reaching out to Brendan Holmes and seeing where they are in the process and understanding what they were doing with the swale, and if that's going to be completed or not in the plans anymore. And then, remind them of the conditions about the homeowner. And then, if we don't get necessarily somewhere with Brendan Holmes, I can then talk with the new homeowner and see what information they might have that can help aid in closing out this permit, or if they, or the agreement that they have of who's responsible for closing it out. And I will definitely update you, on the outcome of any of those aspects.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. Next up is the annual report.
Same thing as last year, just different numbers. It really is pretty much the same. We had more applications, but less fees. I think Park Central really got us up in the fees the year before. And last year was a lot more, or this year actually, sorry, was a lot more septics and smaller projects that don't really take in a lot of WPA fees. That's about it.
Okay. Thank you.
If the commission is okay, this is what I'll be submitting for just the town's annual report, unless there's any changes.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, recommendations?
Good job, Melissa.
Get a raise?
No. Well, I got my 2%. Yeah, that's really exciting. But we have Katie. I
Yes.
think that, yeah.
Do we need to vote on the issuance of the annual report?
I don't think it would hurt. I think it's good for the record.
Yeah, good idea.
Sorry, I do just have one question. Have you finished your masters now?
I did. I finished in March.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Should we put that in there that we now have a conservation agent that has a, no, I'm serious.
Yeah.
Not that exciting.
You've done all of that on top of everything you're doing, and despite our best efforts to try and get you.
We're telling you, you have to.
Watkins Lane would have done that to me, if anything.
Yeah, no, you should I would suggest that, you know, it's written in the third person, so it's not as though you know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree with Judith. It's a big deal, Melissa, and
Okay,
it
I will
belongs.
add that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So do we have a motion to issue the annual report as amended?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
and Wittes.
Yes.
Okay. Certificate of vote discussion.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is something that you also want to wait for Mark for at the 1-7 meeting. You know, I don't think it needs to happen right this second. I shared with you, and I can share on the screen, I was talking to Attorney Lacey just when we were talking about the new changes to the governor's order, and that they're not being extended the deadlines anymore. And I've heard a lot about the certificate of votes, and that, you know, you can delegate the signing authority to me, or we can just do electronic signatures, and we can get this recorded at the Registry of Deeds so that I never have to see you again, basically. You don't have to.
Oh, what a disappointment.
I know. It's just, it saves time for you. It saves times for me. It gets them out the door. And even just the small things. This would also be good theoretically for the town clerk. So it covers all bases. This is, you know, the binding document. It is accepted by the Worcester Registry of Deeds. I just make a notation on every signature page right above it, the book and page, and where this is recorded. So it's completely up to you if you want to discuss this or vote on anything tonight, or if you want to wait for Mark. I'm fine either way, because you'll still have to come in on Monday to sign everything that we issue tonight.
I do think we probably ought to wait for Mark. Just a quick question is, it would be doing the signatures electronically add work for you, or?
It would not, because what I would probably have you do is just send me like a scanned copy of your signature, or I'll even just copy it the next time you guys sign something. And then I just save them as little pictures and I pop them in. As of right now, when I submit to DEP, it's electronic signatures anyways. So when I print out the order of conditions, I would just put that book and page reference at the top of that signature page, and it's just away it goes, it's over. So ironically, it's not even sending it out to you for electronic signatures, just plopping it in, or just doing that hashtag, or not hashtag, /s/ and then your name counts as well.
Gotcha.
And this also, they did, I think this is the town of Hopkinton, so they did 2 electronic signatures, but also just the delegation of signature authority, allowing the agent or the administrator to sign on behalf of the commission if they need like an actual wet signature.
Oh, okay.
We did this in Westboro too, a little while ago. It's been great.
So wonderful. Yeah.
Yes.
It sounds like a fantastic idea. I mean, does anyone disagree though? I feel like Mark ought to really be involved in the decision.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think as long as everyone's kind of okay with the general gist, then I will just kind of start working on the actual language and turning into Southborough and making sure that our other bylaw for stormwater is put in here, and just so we can actually vote on that specific document.
Great. Sounds good. Sounds good. Next up, open space recreation plan. Judith.
Oh, this is like having the after lunch session, isn't it? This is the
Yeah.
before bed session. So I don't know if everyone's had a chance to look at the document. This was, if you remember, this goes way back to the beginning of the year. In fact, it goes back to the end of last year, where we looked at the open space rec plan and identified a number of action areas, recommendations, projects that we were going to focus on in 2020. The last time we looked at that was a tracking document that I created. The last time we looked at that was back in January, and then obviously COVID happened and we went online, and I just felt, given everything that we were trying to do in this online mode, and you know, just the sheer volume of applications and reviews and discussions we were having, it didn't feel as though it was like super high priority to do it. So I have now updated that document. We have made progress on some of those, and I will tell you that I think we are probably, if not the only board or commission that's working that open space rec plan. There's probably only one other group that is. So I think we get, you know, kudos to everybody for you know, for showing that commitment. I know Jeff's got a little area that he's going to follow up for us on the Susco, which would be great. I'm following up on a number of very smaller opportunity areas that may or may not come to anything, mainly with the Board of Health. And then the other thing I've just done is reach out to other groups where we are either identified as jointly responsible for a recommendation or a partner for a recommendation. And those are mainly the open space preservation group, the Trails Committee, just so that I can find out what they're working on. You know, I made the point to them that if they want our support, given everything else that we're working on, they're going to have to kind of let us know that they want us to do things in 2021. So I think it would be great to move forward with some of these projects in 2021. I think the one that's probably going to be the highest priority is, you know, taking a look at stormwater permit rules. And this is a project area that's in the master plan, and we've talked about it a number of times here, that this is probably the time to see if we can, you know, refine some of those guidelines, and I think that is one that has to go to town meeting. So it obviously won't go to this next town meeting, but if we can get it to town meeting for 2022, I think that would be a you know, a very positive outcome for that. So that's, I mean, you know, I offered to keep tracking on this one. It's fairly close to my heart because it's linked very closely to the master plan as well. So, which we are still working on. So if everyone's okay, I will just keep tracking that and, you know, ask for support on things when we need it.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the work you're putting into this, Judith. This is
Yeah, thank you.
fantastic.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We're getting towards the end here. Matt, conservation scientist report.
Yeah, not a lot to report. I haven't been, you know, with all the COVID stuff that's been ongoing, Melissa and I don't do our standard tour of town anymore. So, and there's just not a lot going on in town. So,
yeah,
that's my report.
Thank you very much. No news is good news. Other business as may arise. Anybody have anything Carl?
Yeah, I'm gonna generate a collective moan. I'm gonna bring up 84 Main Street. I think if I recall correctly, we initially had a proposal that along the aqueduct, they were gonna put in wildflowers. That was the initial proposal. What we got was riprap, right? Right. And then we worked with Peter, and there was gonna be an agreement that they were gonna cut back on the riprap, plant flowers. And Russ brought up the point that it should be done in November, right? It's now December, right? Nothing has been done. So this is like fool me once, fool me twice, you know? I'm in the position, this may be a hard line. I'm in a position that, okay, all the riprap, gotta go. Take it out, you know? But other commissioner members may not be as harsh with that, but it gets frustrating when people do that to you, right? So I don't know if anybody else has any opinion on this.
I share your feelings on it, honestly, Carl, I do. The riprap was never proposed. We bent over backwards trying to accommodate the owner there, and he hasn't followed through.
No, I mean, I can understand if he had a delay, if he let us know it was going to take longer, he should have known, right? Because of what we've gone through, send us a message, let us know it's going to take longer than I thought, right? But I think, we should put our foot down. We should really stand up.
Also on the same property, just to confuse things more, Melissa, you may know the answer to this. The entrance to the property off of Deerfoot Road, it goes past the pond. There's a large concrete foundation that was poured there a month and a half ago, and I just don't remember a structure being proposed there on the site plan. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Is that the gazebo, where the gazebo's going?
Is it?
It might be.
Yeah.
No, Ben, you mean the concrete block that's opposite the
chapel area
that's got the
conduits sticking out.
The conduits. Well, and it's interesting because I walked by there a couple of times in the last 2 weeks, and the conduits seem to have gone down. I don't know. Is that how they work? I know nothing about this, but
after they pour the concrete, I think they trim them to where they need to be. But I just don't remember there being a
more. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with that, but it sure is ugly.
This is the plan.
Which I guess is.
I was right. There's just not. The plan doesn't show. I mean, I'm going to guess the dimensions at 15 by 15 or 20 by 20. It's a big concrete block. I just don't. I don't have a good way of scaling right now. I mean, how close are we to edge of bank?
So it's over here?
No. It's see where it says is existing carriage house? It's immediately across the driveway from that where it shows parking.
Almost like, yeah,
right there.
It's probably going to put up a huge statue.
It's a big block of concrete. It
yeah,
is
I'd
very
say
big.
it's probably 10 by 12, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
To himself. Yeah.
Ironically, I think going down that way is the only way I haven't gone recently, or it's been pitch black because it's so dark so early.
You can use the new sidewalks, Melissa.
Mental note to Russ, drive by and look at it.
Yeah, I know. If Russ
really
doesn't
can't
tell
miss
me
it.
the weird ones, then I don't realize it. Okay. Yeah, it's been like pitch black when I'm going home that way. So I don't know.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that's something. Yeah, something we have to look into. And also, I don't mean to stop discussion in any way on what Russ brought up. Every time I drive past there and I see it from Parkerville, taking my kids back and forth to school, and I kind of grit my teeth every time. This isn't what we told was going to happen. What we were told was going to happen.
Yeah, and I also have a follow-up with Peter about the final spec plan for this rain garden area, because I never received that as well. So that's also on my docket. I know I don't believe they've started that, and that's probably why he hasn't gotten it to me. I know he's been in, pretty backlogged, but at the same time, this site has had enough issues.
Yeah, I did see, it looked like there was a lot of activity around the cottage when I drove by the other day.
Yeah,
Looked
they
like
were
there was
roofing
a
it
lot of
last week.
contractors working on
Yeah, they were putting a roof on last week.
Okay. So I'll follow up with them about the spec plan for this, when the planting and scaling back of the riprap is going to be, and then what this.
Yeah, ask him, when is he going to take out the riprap?
Well, so I think there's some, it was difficult to understand, I think, in that the original request for the clearing of that embankment did include riprap, just not the extent that it was installed.
No, well, Melissa, can I interrupt you? The plan that was presented to us, there was no mention of riprap. He presented a different plan to DCR. Is what I think
we
happened.
did receive the same documents. I think what's difficult is that he geared it more towards the invasive management aspect of it and didn't necessarily highlight the final conditions, which may be where the differences lie. Because
But we could still ask to have it all taken out since he hasn't complied with what he told us he was going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I will follow up with Peter and JDP about those.
Yeah, you can quote me as the bad cop, right?
I don't need a bad cop. It's fine.
All right, one other bad cop issue down the street from me on Middle Road. I don't know if you guys have been over there to look at that. We approved it was notice of intent for the wetlands, right? And they told us that they weren't going to need a stormwater because the disturbance was going to be less than half the lot. And boy, it doesn't look like that now, And they've also gone over to the next lot, and I think they've disturbed enough area to require a stormwater over there, right?
This across from Faith School?
No, this is just down the street from me.
Oh, excuse me. Okay, I'm sorry.
This is next to the trolley line.
Yep.
Next to the trolley line, right? Right. So it looks like they either don't understand what we're telling them, right? Or they don't understand our bylaws, right? They're just kind of moving along, right? And it really tore the place up, right? You should take a look at it, right? And matter of fact, it even came up earlier in the meeting. Somebody referenced it when they were talking about Bartolini's, and they said, this is not what Bartolini does, right? There was a direct reference to this mess, right? So I think we had to spin their derby a little bit.
So not to cut you off, but they have submitted 3 SMP applications for
after the fact.
I know. So this was one of 3 of my other businesses to bring up, in that what does the commission want to do in the meantime, because they have gone over the threshold. I have had some trouble communicating with the builder. Peter is also the point engineer on this, in that last week my request before Thanksgiving was to have erosion controls in and come to or as much into compliance with the stormwater bylaw as possible. Like, yes, it's a holiday weekend because it was the weekend or a couple of days before Thanksgiving, but this was extremely important, especially on the wetland side. And come to find out this, on Monday when I followed up and I was talking with Mark earlier in the week, they had still not been installed. I think on yesterday, Tuesday or Wednesday, they finally did install them. But I think the issue is that they've disturbed more than the 50% without a valid SMP. I think unlike 61 Breakneck, where they could theoretically stay under that 50% until a permit is issued, they have already negated that option for these lots.
Yeah, I mean, because they told us they weren't going to go over 50, and then
Correct.
They didn't just go over it a little bit.
Yeah, because in the building permit, so what I require for all new construction or significant construction is to have a clear limit of work depicted on the plan with calculations. And the plan that was provided to me was just under the 50%. So what I have people require who's within a couple or 10% or so of that 50% is to put up that orange construction fence. And that was, stated that they were going to be done. And then, the lots were cleared. So, it's kind of up to the commission if they want to continue to allow them to work with proper erosion controls in compliance with the bylaw, or if you want them to cease work until they have a valid SMP permit because they've already gone over the threshold.
Well, I'm in the camp that they should stop, stabilize, and then wait for their stormwater permit. I mean, we can only get run over so many times. I mean, they should have known better. They did know better.
I tend to agree with Carl. I mean, we try and be mindful of, individual situations, but this one just sounds as though it's too much of a variation. So I think we should we should say cease and desist.
Is it just stormwater? I don't remember. Is this the plan we're looking at here?
Oh, no, sorry.
No, this is the old plan. Is there wetland as well?
So we did issue a notice of intent for 151 Middle Road, which if you're looking at them from the street is the leftmost lot. So there's 3 separate lots. Let me see if I've saved them yet, and I can bring up the SMP plan. And then, so technically the 151 had a notice of intent and subsequent order of conditions, but the other lots are outside of the buffer zone. And when they were before us for an NOI, they stated that they were going to be under the 50%, but have since filed for all 3 lots.
And did they clear anything in the buffer zone?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Hold on.
So I'll make a motion that we proceed in that manner. We tell them to stop. I think that we should also ask them to stabilize, because we don't know how long it's going to take them to get a stormwater permit.
Yeah. And Melissa, you tried the good cop approach. You asked them to get the stormwater controls in place to get them in quasi compliance, and they simply failed to act.
Yeah, and they are in place now, because I did, when I was talking to Mark, he's like, if they're not done by the end of the day, then the cease and desist is warranted. So, they were completed. I haven't gone out to really measure the distance between the wetland flags and the 20-foot just to make sure that that's accurate, but they took a while.
But are they not following the NOI that was issued then? Because that's a whole nother issue.
Yep.
It's because I didn't have a pre-construction meeting. Sorry, I just choked a minute.
They don't even have a DPE number up front.
Correct.
They don't have the plans on site.
I don't have a contractor affidavit. I didn't do a pre-construction meeting, an erosion control inspection, which is a biggie.
Oh, yes, sounds cease and desisty.
It kind of does. It's not something we do very often, but
Certainly you could, under the order of conditions, the fact that they're in violation or were in violation, you could have a discussion of fines as well. I know the commission doesn't like that, but I think it's always worth having a discussion to let people know that it's out there.
yeah, I think in the past we've, we use the tools that we have to bring them into compliance. It sounds, Melissa, the first step always is Melissa goes and talks with them, and 90% of the time, that's all that's necessary. But when that doesn't work, here we are. Well, it sounds like it sounds like Carl wants to, unless there's more discussion on this, anybody else wish to speak on the topic? It sounds like Carl wanted to make a motion.
I think Carl did make that.
I did make a motion, yeah.
I'm sorry, I missed it, Carl. Yeah, would
The motion was essentially to, to tell them this
To issue
cease
a-
work, stabilize the site, and file for and get the stormwater permit. And then they can get going again.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete.
Yep.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
and Wittes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I do have two more items. I'm so sorry. I'm almost done. So one thing that I think we might have discussed last year around this time is that the fire department has their Christmas tree sales in the golf course parking lot. And technically under section C7, this would need approval by both holders of the CR, which would be the Concom and the SVT. It does fall within the confines, and talking with SVT, they agree of the cultural aspects of the clubhouse parking lot. So the commission, the request was for like an ongoing approval every year for the yearly sale of Christmas trees in the parking lot. So what I would do was I was going to create a document and talking with Kristen O'Brien from SVT that both of us would sign and make note if the commission agrees or approves this use of the parking lot, and going forward, it doesn't have to be approved every single year.
Anybody ever want to be Grinch? You can be Grinch now.
That's something though where it would be very specifically just the sale of the Christmas trees.
Correct. And it was, we were also going to condition it with the approval of the golf course management company to ensure that it doesn't impede on golfing activities.
Right. Because we don't, don't want it expanding into some, like a garage sale. Oh, let's have a garage sale on top of our Christmas trees.
Correct. Yep. This is just for the Christmas trees.
So the sale of Christmas trees between this date and that date.
Yeah, it was, I think it's typically the Saturday after Thanksgiving throughout the holidays.
Okay. Folks are generally in agreement. Somebody like to make a motion that we authorize Melissa to negotiate that agreement and sign on our behalf?
So moved. What Bed said.
And is there a second?
Second.
All right, roll call vote.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Pete,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
Wittes.
Yes.
Okay, the last new order of business that I had just come up, which some of you may not be surprised about. If you remember the violation at 11 Blackthorn Drive, this was the filling of the depressed area. They were worried about coyotes.
Oh, with the wild coyotes.
Yes, and I think, Matt's biggest comment about that with the amount of filling was that the trees in the front were going to die. Well, the trees have died. One of them I think came down, and the other two are pretty much ready to come down. And typically with hazardous tree exemptions, I process them through the office. I get a certified letter from an arborist and a detailed plan from the tree company of how they're taking them down, the stumps has to remain, etc. But this property has that kind of weird history in that we're not allowing them to alter the area any further. So before I went forward with the standard process, I guess I kind of wanted to get the commission's thought, and if we wanted to deal with this in the same way, or if there was a different avenue that we wanted to go. Because yes, the trees did die, and they are within an appropriate distance that if they fell, they'd most likely land on either their house or the neighbor's house. And the neighbor has also reached out to me a couple weeks ago, concerned about the same trees falling on her house, because I think one of them did come down close to her corner of her house. It's difficult.
Yeah,
It's kind
I
of
mean-
self-inflicted.
it is, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I can bring myself to say no, especially where there's a neighbor involved. It was a very frustrating interaction, especially with their attorney. He really wasn't doing them any favors. I don't know. If they have an evaluation by an arborist saying that the trees are a danger, and they have a plan for taking them down that is respectful of the resource areas that they haven't filled in, then I would vote in favor. I don't know how others feel.
We asked them to plant some other tree that we like. I don't know. Is there anything you can ask for?
I think it depends on the commission's maybe not willingness or ability to go back to the initial violation. We came to a signed agreement in that as long as they stopped filling the area and stabilized it, then, we would kind of cease the violation. So maybe the kind of point of not necessarily retribution, but for lack of better word, for plantings might be passed. May not be a bad idea to ask, but I don't know how much teeth we have in requiring them to plant something.
I think at the end of the day, they did live up to their half of the agreement. Although, yeah, that's a great idea, though.
I could stipulate, and I think it already is in the administrative approval, that any kind of replacement trees are native trees or native shrubs. So I could specify that again in the approval if that makes the commission kind of maybe not more comfortable, but more amenable to the idea.
I think it's a great idea.
I mean, it's safety, right? We have to let them do the safe thing, right? There's no question about, they have to do, in my mind anyway, you have to let them do what is going to be safe. But if there's anything we can ask, why not?
Right. So I don't think this needs an official vote, only because this is what I standardly do. It's 11 o'clock at night and I'm done. So I will move forward with that aspect and ask them for native plantings in the future.
So native plantings in an equal number to the trees being taken down, is that the? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Given the past violation.
Anybody else have any other business they'd like to raise?
Just a heads up, I think that the Board of Health is coming to talk to us pretty soon about the dump.
Great.
I don't know, have they issued has Paul issued his report yet?
No, they didn't vote on the final recommendation. I just asked Barbara today before I left work.
Oh, good. Thank you.
They've been having like emergency meetings for COVID, so they haven't had a regular scheduled meeting in a little bit.
Yeah,
but they have one.
I'm sure they just love that they got this dumped in their lap.
Yes, but it's on their roll. So once they have a regular meeting, they'll be discussing and making their recommendation.
Thanks, Melissa.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Well, there's one last motion we need.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We need a roll call vote.
Watson,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Heat,
Yes.
Guyer,
Yes.
Gregory,
Yes.
and Woodis.
Yes.
Okay.